Everything in Helldivers is about to get a lot worse, and most of it actually has to do with things that the ministry and the developers have been lying to us about. And no, I'm not going to be doing like a character or a bit right now. All the stuff they told us about the Termicide, the Automatons, the Illuminate, it's all sort of coming to a head, seemingly at the exact same time. We've got leaks that are sort of from the game, and they're even trying to kind of silence that because it seems like there are going to be a lot of things happening basically all in conjunction with each other. It kind of continues to make me wonder, are they going to be doing aspirational content? Maybe just not always raising the difficulty level, but doing something else. They've got new bugs. We've got new machines, new enemies. You know, are they going to be giving us new stratagems, and maybe in more than just a couple at a time, like maybe a whole swath of them, maybe new mission types, and maybe even new mechanics within the missions themselves. I would love to see raid-style content that requires more team synergy and organization, not just, oh, it's so insane, there's so many bugs, you got to kind of synergize with your stratagems, like actually synergizing and teaming up around mechanics. I'm going to update you on what's been happening, as well as sort of what we're getting from these leaks about why I think it's about to get a lot worse for the Helldivers. Now, this video is longer. You might be like, what in the world? Why is it like a 2-hour-long video? It's a live stream. You may be watching the past broadcast. Make sure and hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you're here for those live shows. If you want to support the channel directly, we also have memberships, and the $6 member is the full membership. That's a way to get into all of the behind-the-scenes content that we do when we're making up the show. So do all those things if you want to support, and looking forward to seeing you in those live shows. Well, it's about to get a lot worse for the Helldivers in Helldivers 2, and I don't mean game crashes. I'm not talking about nerfs. I'm talking about the content, the enemy factions, the gameplay, and hopefully it all gets terrible, and in a good way. If you've not been paying attention, everything that we've been fighting for is basically backfiring on us, whether it is the Termicide, you know, evolving the Terminids, the Automatons leaving, but not really, you know, or just trying to stop the cyborgs from being liberated. It's all bad, okay? Now, I also have a handful of leaks pointing to where things are headed, not just stuff that sort of has happened in the game, but we also have leaks that have been data mined that are giving us a very clear picture about where things are headed, and it doesn't look very good. Now, before I do that, though, I do want to look what led to this. I want to take a look at sort of like the history of things that have been happening in the game, because I tried to warn everybody, you know, I was like, instead of listening, you just kept calling me treasonous and saying you were going to report me, but I kept trying to tell folks that this stuff's bad and it's going to get worse, okay? Now, I'm not doing a bit right now. I mean it. I genuinely predicted where things are going with the game, and it's fun. After looking at the leaks and where the game is headed, I'm going to give you sort of my position on things, because I definitely have some opinions on the type of content that they could be adding to this game, in addition to the new enemies that are very clearly on the way. Now, lastly, I will make some predictions. Regardless of how much you report me to the ministry, I've gotten pretty good at making predictions about this game. So first, just a very quick backstory. Well, it all started with the Termicide, if you remember those missions, and we were told that it was all going according to plan. It was helping us. But I said many times it was obviously helping the Terminids. Well, it was pretty unsurprising when the Terminids evolved, started flying, and after the missions were concluded, or even while they were happening, we had a new version of the bugs. Then the latest order with the Automatons, you know, I'm glad to see the malevolent Creakers actually helping with a major order for a change. You know, Creakers are unable to do really anything in the game other than hang out on the same planet, because you guys are a bunch of weirdos. Well, we were told it was a roaring success, the latest major order, and that the Automatons were gone, and not 24 hours later, they were back with a vengeance. There was like an in-game animation. If you go to the Galactic War Table, all these ships, you know, sort of came in to the galaxy. Now, this ties to the leaks, okay? The leaks really show how bad this is going to be. We went from the ministry and the developers telling us that the Automatons were gone. There was a video of a parade, and they released the following announcement. They said, major order, all units to LibCon 1, a massive Automaton invasion fleet comprising tens of thousands of warships arrived from FTL Jump and began an unprovoked invasion of Cyberstan and the surrounding planets. The reclamation has begun. So, like I said so many times before, you cannot trust the developers, you cannot trust the ministry. Now, on to the leaks. This is what's really happening. According to thegamer.com, a bunch of bad stuff is about to happen, and they said the following. Data miners have uncovered proof that the automatons are going to liberate Cyberstan and free their cyborg creators, as many speculated. In doing so, the cyborgs will overhaul and upgrade the automatons, giving them new weapons and troop types, the most devastating of which is an orbital artillery cannon that can take down super destroyers. So, this clearly sounds like we are not necessarily going to face or maybe even see the cyborgs. A lot of people thought maybe they were going to be another faction. Maybe they might, but in the near future, at least initially, that's not how this is going to play out. They're going to be making the automatons stronger and probably more difficult, which probably isn't good news for those who already don't like fighting them. Some of you just prefer to fight the bugs. The bugs are a little bit easier. There was also a video that surfaced on YouTube, and in the article, it said that it was showing an automaton fleet 10 times the size of a fleet that we've ever seen mounting a surprise attack on Cyberstan and its surrounding planets. And then on the subject of the termicide, this is literally everything I said. So from the Gamer article, it says, another news broadcast shows that the TCS and the Meridia system, which was designed to wipe out Terminids, has backfired as survivors are reproducing 20 times faster than before. Remember? You remember when I told you it was going to help them produce quicker because we wanted the E710, we wanted the oil from killing them, so it was going to actually help them create and produce much quicker? Well, that's happening, okay? I told you that was going to happen, all right? More from the article. The termicide, which is also causing the bugs to mutate, is rapidly spreading through the system, so we not only have Cyberstan's reclamation in our near future, but an outbreak of an even stronger Terminids to worry about. So, as I predicted, it's not just helping them evolve with wings, they're producing faster, it's going to be all throughout the system. Now, this is because when we kill them, we get E710, which is oil, and that's basically an economic motivation to be fighting them. So basically, we were tricked into helping the Terminids evolve and reproduce faster, so we could get more oil from them. It might be a little too close to home on that one, but wait, there's more. Another leak about the Illuminate has also surfaced. More from the article. The Illuminate are returning from the south. We've seen their cloaked warships ominously watching us from Automaton airspace, and some Helldivers have even reported seeing their signature blue lasers. Now, an audio clip has leaked of Helldivers being brutally murdered as they scream about tentacles. Obviously, the question about timing, I think, is the thing that I think about here is, well, when will that happen? Just this morning, the official Helldivers Twitter account has said that what we heard wasn't real, it was static or a glitch or something. Now, some have even questioned if they're going to be doing too much too close together. I've seen people say that. They're like, man, they're doing an awful lot. Is this going to set an unrealistic expectation for how often this game gets updated or gets new content? Now, I've even taken the position that the new War Bond every month, like the second week every month, there's supposed to be a new War Bond. That means after just 1 year, there's going to be 12 war bonds in the game, and I'm going to have, I would say, the vast majority of those war bonds not completed. I don't have time to play this game full time. I love it. I put in like 77 hours, but I've got other games I want to play. I've got real life, right? So I know for a fact that there's no way after 1 year's time that I'm going to be even close to completing those war bond. Now, it's great that they don't expire. I think that's wonderful. But the game's going to get a little crowded, and it's going to get crowded fast. And thegamer.com summarizes everything that's been going on in the game nicely. They say, so to recap, we have even stronger automatons teaming up with the cyborgs to attack us once again from the west, mutated Terminids spreading rapidly in the east, and aquatic tentacle creatures with far more advanced technology than us mounting an attack from the south. At least the north is quiet, right? Well, I'm sure the ministry will give us assurances that everything is fine, and they'll probably be totally lying. So what is my position on this? What do I think? Well, I think it's clear that everything's about to get worse, and in the best ways possible. Games like this need to keep things fresh, and variety is a huge aspect of that. Well, what better way to keep things fresh and varied than to change the two foundational enemy types we've been fighting for 2 entire months? It's actually crazy to think that we are fully 2 months now into the game's launch. Like, it's been out for that long. They've been updating and changing things very often in that 2-month period, and it seems to be working. Just recently, the game returned to former concurrent player counts. On Sunday, on April the 7th, it hit 333,000 concurrent players on Steam alone. Now, the player numbers have been great for a live service game, but to see them spike back up simply because something cool was happening in the game, it shows that this game's got power and it's got people in its grip. It wouldn't surprise me if they drop the right content. Time will tell, right? When they do that, we could see another surge, maybe even this weekend, in the player counts back to what it was during those first couple of weeks. But I really think it's time for a batch of new stratagems. Not like one or two, like when they added the mech or the heavy machine gun that I thought was generally pretty terrible, unless they've updated or fixed it. I would love to see a thematic addition of stratagems, like a whole new station, right? And that's all that's there, is just a bunch of these new stratagems, and they could be specifically designed for these new threats that we're now facing. This would combine nicely, I think, with new mission types. I really would think they should go further than what they did with the termicide missions. The overwhelming consensus is that more mechanics, maybe even raid type content, would be a huge hit in this game. Now, obviously, with the way difficulty works in this game, you might have to put new mission types or raids at certain difficulty levels, right? You couldn't be running raids at like levels 3 and 4. Maybe you have to go up to at least a 6 to run these raids, and maybe the more you increase the difficulty beyond that, you would get more rewards. Obviously, I think they're getting the format right. I'm not saying this because I feel like there's a lack of content or not enough. I just would love to see them continue to add and just iterate on things. I think that's key to a game like this going the distance. So, what are some of my predictions? Well, I think the easiest prediction is that we're going to have 3 factions, I think, very soon. Now, obviously, how will they manage that? Obviously, Joel can tweak things, Joel and the team with him. You know, if the player base gets spread too thin, he can dial back how fast enemies are advancing, especially if we end up with stronger Terminids and Automatons. I also think these evolutions of the enemies, that's sort of just the beginning. It wouldn't surprise me if they have like a whole year of changes planned and kind of scoped out. And on the 1-year anniversary of the game, like, they could have everything look completely different than it did at launch. They could even kind of reset the enemies at that time. You know, you could put things into a state, you know, to sort of go into new evolutions and changes. Maybe we figure out how to undo what's happening with the Terminids. I also think they need to consider slowing down the war bonds. And I think they might actually do that, depending on their own internal data, or maybe not that. They could do something else. If we get 6 months into the game and the vast majority of the players have not completed enough of their war bonds, it could start to work against the aims of having them, right? It's great having no FOMO. FOMO is fear of missing out. There's really no FOMO in this game. I can always loop back to an older war bond. I can always go and get some things that, you know, maybe I didn't get until recently. Maybe I haven't been able to play or something like that. But booting up the game and seeing 4 war bonds that I've not even had a chance to touch, and then there's a new one, I don't know. That could be demoralizing to some players. Maybe I'm off my rocker, okay, on this one. People are like, no, there's no such thing as too much of a good thing. I just think it could be super, you know, inviting if when I come back, I don't have this mountain of things to earn, but other people might see that as inviting. Like, oh man, I've got so much to do. I'll never run out of content. I'll never run out of things to earn in this game. Now, my gut instinct says that it can be too much of a good thing. It'll overwhelm a new or a returning player. So maybe if they don't even slow down the war bonds, maybe, because I know people are going to disagree with me. They're going to say, no, don't slow down the content. The people that are grinding want more, okay? Well, maybe they could streamline the older war bonds, make it really cheap after a certain amount of time. Maybe once we get 5 or 6 war bonds in the game, the first 2 or maybe 3, you know, are just cheaper. You can move through them quicker with your medals, just so we could get to the items instead of having so much stacked on top of itself. Again, I think that could work against player engagement. Like if a returning player or a new player hops in, they're going to say, I'm overwhelmed. There's honestly too much here. I'll never get it all done. Part of me really does think they're going to reevaluate how war bonds function in the future, especially once we have so many of them. You know, at the 10-month mark, you're going to have 10 war bonds in the game. You know, you're going to scroll through all those. You know, they're even going to want to think about the UI and how you navigate through them. Overall, I think things are, as I said, they're about to get a lot worse, which is exactly what the game needs. So I trust the devs to keep getting this right. They're going to keep implementing good player feedback, adding new things, and updating the game. But that's just what I think. What do you think? So let me give you my closing thoughts and conclusion on this. Just this morning, the ministry, put out a tweet. They're just being deceptive again. They said the Ministry of Truth would like to dispel any rumors that Super Earth deep range transmissions were intercepted with an illegal automaton broadcast today. SEAF comms teams identified a minor systems fault that resulted in a quick burst of static interference. Please disregard. So it's clear something's about to happen. And like all other things in the game, they're going to tell us not to worry, right? The Helldivers 2 developers have won the video game live service lottery, okay? Sure, they have to publish patch notes and fix things and kind of like let us know what's happening in the game, but they can't just keep telling us, they can just keep telling us that nothing's happening. They've baked in bugs and glitches into the lore, like when the map wasn't showing progress right. Like, they basically put a message in the game saying, oh yeah, that was a glitch in the system in the Galactic War Table. I just hope they can keep it up, which is kind of the second thing I want to talk about. That really is the question, isn't it? Can they keep this going? I would assume at the current cadence, they must have a larger plan in play, which likely means that we haven't really seen anything yet. I'd be interested to see if they have plans for the summer when all that game marketing heats up. Like, are they going to show up to Summer Game Fest? Maybe even have a big announcement about something in the game. My conclusion is this: with a brand new war bond arriving tomorrow, I will be diving back into the game after a short break. Close to 30 hours of Rise of the Ronin really took some of my time away from Helldivers 2, and I'm excited to get back out there. I don't feel like I've fallen behind, even though my war bonds are looking a little rough, right? But I don't feel like I won't be able to jump right back into the action. Last night as I scrolled through the war bonds, though, I definitely started to get the sense that another war bond is really going to split my medals even more. I certainly do not want to advocate for less content, but I do think once we hit like 6 total war bonds, I would love to see discounts applied to the older ones. Now, let me be clear. Through, the second or third, maybe. I'm not arguing for everything to get super easy or super cheap. You just sort of wait enough time. I'm just thinking, let me clear through the second or third war bonds a little bit faster. Now, if long-standing players get angry about that, they can get over it. You've been playing. You got the stuff. You use the stuff. You've had a great time. If I come in 4 months later as a brand new player or a player who's returning after a break, and I buy some of those war bond items with less medals, like, what difference is it to you? I missed out on 4 months of emergent story happenings in the games, updates. Certain weapons were busted and really strong for a certain amount of time, and I'm not going to get to experience that if I'm taking breaks or if I'm a new player. New and returning player onboarding has got to be considered at some point. I don't think we're there yet, but eventually we will be. But those are just my thoughts. Now it's time to hear your thoughts. And that is the show open, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Go through your daily ritual, smash that like button, and let me pop out the chat here and thank some people. It looks like people are already doing memberships, and we have a big goal for the week of 2,500. You guys hit 2,300 last week. Joker Quinn, Han shot first, and so did you. That's the first gifted member of the day. You guys have been crushing it lately, and I greatly appreciate the support of the channel. We've really been asking people, if you're watching this as a past broadcast or you're here right now, if you are at that $5 tier, whether you're paying for it on your own or it's been gifted to you, consider upgrading to the $6 tier, not because of the dollar, but because it creates a new tier for us. So you get into the behind the scenes. You get to see how these shows are made, how we come up with the ideas and the outlines and the thumbnails, but you also get into streams on Friday night with my wife, and it supports the channel directly, and we would really like to see more people at that voluntary paid level instead of so many of you being on gifteds. It makes room for more people, and we really appreciate when people decide to upgrade and do that. And welcome back, Royal Duck, as a member. Thank you so much. Guys, go through your morning ritual of smashing the like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to talk in the chat. And also don't forget about the fact that we have the coffee as well, another great way to support the channel. Imagine complaining about too much content. Well, it's not content though. They're war bonds. They're battle passes. It's not content. Like, content would be new mission types, new enemies, which they are doing. But you have to understand the way a live service game works. Live service games live and die on player incentivization. You have to be incentivized to come back and spend time in the game. And if I take a break from the game and I come back and I'm like, oh wow, the second war bond, I never got around to finishing that one. Third one, same deal. Fourth one, oh wow. Oh, and they just added a fifth one. That's not going to work. Like, you're definitely going to see people say, this is too much. Right? This is too much content. This is not enough. Well, not content. Too much items to earn in the game. I'm never going to get to them all. Because right now, when I look at them, it's like there's weapons, there's armor pieces, there's capes, and it's like, this is all awesome. But when I have 4 war bonds that I haven't even had a chance to touch, I think they're going to have to think about that. They're doing a new war bond every month. It's extremely rare for a game to have battle passes essentially added to the game every single month, which I think is great for the people who are grinding. I think it's great for the people who are having a good time. But I think when you get to about 6 total war bonds, you've got to think through anybody who comes back from a break, anybody who dives in brand new. It's going to almost overwhelm them. They're going to feel like, well, I'm never going to get any of these items. There's just too many. Anytime you have an ongoing game, you have to consider that door that people are going to come through of like, well, I took a break, or, oh, I'm brand new. I'm just trying out the game for the first time because my friends told me about it. Yo, what's good, Takashi? What's good, homies? I'm having problems defeating the major boss of this game, the Crashy Crasher. Well, they said they pushed out a patch that was supposed to help with a lot of the crashes. If it's still happening, that's a huge bummer, because that is another dilemma with the game constantly adding things to itself, constantly updating, constantly trying to patch. They're going to create more problems. They're going to create more crashes and bugs. That was something that I remember when Fortnite was pushing out like a patch like every week. They were constantly making things worse. Those of us that play regularly are starved for new stuff. Well, yeah, but even a war bond really isn't new content. It's just new stuff for you to spend medals on. I actually think the hardcore players would be more appreciative of aspirational content, like a raid or like dungeons, more mechanically based content that requires more team synergy. I'm not saying there's not team synergy now at the upper levels, but I just don't necessarily think even the hardcore players, are they like, oh yeah, a new war bond, that's what I've been waiting for. I think they're probably going to be more excited about the fact that there's new enemies. Potentially that means new missions. Potentially that means new stratagems, new ways to play, right? I think that is a better implementation for your hardcore players. Yeah, new factions, like if the Illuminate finally show up. I don't think your hardcore grinders are like, oh man, I was really hoping they would add another war bond. Like, I think they're excited about war bonds, but the people who are playing every day would probably like something, new in the game itself, not just new items to earn. As I said, a war bond's not really content. I mean, you could label it content, but most of the time we use the word content like, I want new content. We're thinking new playable content, not just new earnable content. I'm already checked out on the war bond, says Eugene. Right, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, more medium level players like myself, more casual players and hardcore players, it's like I come back and I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, well, for Pete's sakes, I never even finished the very first standard war bond or the second war bond. I have 77 hours in the game. That's a lot. That's not a small amount of time for your average gamer. And for someone like me to feel like, man, I put in 77 hours with the new war bond and the new content. Once I get a break from Rise of the Ronin, I could see myself putting in another 10 or 20 hours. I know I'm not even going to come close. I'm not even going to come close to getting all the stuff. Not that I need to get all the stuff. I'm not saying that I'm owed those things, but that tends to then fold back on itself. It tends to work against itself. It's like, well, I'm motivated to earn things that seem earnable. And if it seems like they're not earnable, then that's when people will check out mentally. They'll be like, well, there's no way for me to get all of this stuff. I'm not even going to get half of this stuff. And that's when I think you start to lose some players. Now, I'm not saying they're losing players right now. I'm saying I think eventually the war bond system needs to be reevaluated. I don't think it's a problem right now, but I think once you've got 5 and 6 and 7 war bonds in the game, I think that starts to work against itself. It's like you got to streamline that. The UI alone is going to need to be thought through. Do you really want to scroll all the way down, ding, 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 like all the way down, like, oh yeah, I got to go all the way down to Warbond number 7. I mean, they're going to have to reevaluate how the UI even contains all of the items and all of the title screens for them. You know, I think that games like this are always going to have to consider player feedback, consider player behavior, and they're going to have to make those adjustments. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if in 3 or 4 months they say, hey, we've really reevaluated how war bonds show up. We're going to make adjustments. We're going to make adjustments to the UI. We're going to make adjustments to how much older war bonds cost, right? So when we add the 6th war bond, war bonds 1 and 2 are going to get cheaper. So you can just move through them faster, right? Once Warbond 7 lands, we're going to make Warbonds 3 and 4 cheaper so you can work through them faster. Like, that's a great way to prove that, like, the game doesn't have FOMO if you're going to let a new player or a returning player go back into older Warbonds and just kind of clear through them a little bit quicker so then they can kind of catch up with everybody else and focus on the new one. I'm not saying that they have to. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they did. A good proposal from chat here, remove the page unlock requirement on all war bonds. Right, the page unlock requirement is a bit rough because just last night there's a gun that people have told me is pretty good and I can't get it. It requires 80. I had 90. I had 90 medals and I couldn't get it. I had to go buy like a cape and I had to go buy like all these other things just to get to it. And it's like, well, that might be another way to streamline it, you know? Just let me go wherever I want on a war bond. Hey, you know, we just added the 5th war bond to the game, so the first 2 you can now buy from any page, and we've lowered some of the metal costs just so you guys can clear through there or something. It's a good problem. Oh, it is a good problem, but I'm speaking from a psychological aspect. From a psychological aspect, I want you to imagine booting up any other game you've ever played with a battle pass, and you boot up the game and you see 5 of the previous battle passes available to you, and you know you simply will never get through all of them. It just isn't possible. Like, think about the amount of time that people have put into the game when the 6th warbond lands. So halfway through the game's, you know, debut year, 6 months in, and you come into the game fresh or you come back to the game after a break and you see 6 war bonds. Think about all of the time people have put into the game up to that point, and you're like, so I would basically have to quadruple my play time to even remotely catch up to the people who are currently in the game right now and, you know, are staying on the front edge of the wave. It's like that's going to work against the point of a war bond or a battle pass. The psychological incentivization is supposed to be, look at all these great things I can get, and it's not going to do that. It's going to have the inverse effect. They're going to be like, look at all this stuff I'm never going to get. You see the difference? I think there's a significant difference. I think there's a tipping point. There's like a, it's like with medication, right? There's a toxicity level. You can only have so much before it's too much. I think you can only have so many battle passes or war bonds in a game before it's too much. You're like, you don't see those items as like, oh, I could get those. You see those items as, I'm never going to get those. Like, I don't have the time. No. War bonds do not cost real money. Now, the premium war bonds do, but you can earn super credits in the game to buy them. When I say make them cheaper, I mean literally lower some of the metal counts, right? After considering, I think you're right, but it's too early. I said at the end of my monologue, I said, I don't think we're there yet. I think we're getting really close to that point. Like, we're getting really close to that point. I think once there's 6 war bonds in the game, that's when they've got to consider making some changes. So they should expire? Oh no, I don't think they should expire. I love that they don't expire. I love it. But I think once you add like the 6 war bond, I think like the first 2, the metal price for each item should just go way down. So you could just buzz through it and catch up. Yo, good morning, Feed. Good to see you in the chat. You can buy them. Yeah, you can buy them with the currency earned in the game. You just play the game. You're going to get super credits, and then they never go away. I think that's a wonderful thing that they've done, that the war bonds never go away. I am not at all against that. I'm saying that when you play a game like this, when you return to a game or you play a game brand new, you want those little hooks to grab people. You don't want it to look like this giant, war carrier ship, and they're like, I'm never going to get any of this stuff. That would motivate them to stop playing fairly quickly. At least, again, this is just my opinion. I'm open to being completely wrong. People may get in here and play and see 7 war bonds and be like, oh, I can't wait to play more. I happen to think that's not how player psychology works. I think there's an element of futility when there's too many things to earn. It's like, forget it. I'm never going to get it done. I'll give you an example. And I think this is a great discussion, by the way. So if you guys are disagreeing with me, I welcome that. I like discussions like this. I love getting down into the muck and the mire of live service games and the psychology of the player and the hive mind and the player incentivization. Like Helldivers 2 is such a great test case for how to do live service. So I think this is fun. So bring your disagreements. I think that's a blast. While you're doing that, take a second and hit the like button. Nice turnout already today. We love covering Helldivers, and we have a second channel called Helldivers 2 Updates. If you're looking for regular updates and shorter videos, make sure and subscribe to that channel as well. So let me give you an example of too much of a good thing, feeling overwhelmed. Okay, and a lot of you will be able to relate to this. I want you to imagine the last time you played and the cloaked ships are in the background of my footage here. If you watch up on the left side of the screen, you'll see a planet with rings. Keep your eyes peeled. See the ships? See the cloaked ships up there? They're up there in the corner. I didn't even catch that the last time I played the game. Yeah, they're right up there at the top of the screen. That's so cool. Yeah, right there. That's a great shot of them. That's really good. I never even caught that. Never even paying attention to it. Okay. So, mire as in M-I-R-E. Muck in the mire. That's a colloquialism from I don't even know when. Probably when wagons would get stuck and stuff, maybe. That's where it came from, getting stuck in the muck and the mire. Anyways. You'll be able to relate to this. Have you ever been playing an open world game and you're sort of clearing the first area and you're doing all the things and it feels good, and then you get to the next area and all the little icons show up and you're like, holy moly. And then you get to the next area and the next area and the next area. And eventually, the size of the game and the number of things that you are going to have to do to quote unquote clear the map, it actually works against your completionist motivation because it's too much. The satisfaction of doing it starts to go down, right? You almost feel as if, why would I bother with any of this? It's too much. It'll overwhelm you. It'll disincentivize you from doing it. You almost feel as if your endurance and your desire are at odds with each other. Your endurance to clear the map and your desire to clear the map are kind of fighting. It's like, well, I'd love to clear the map. I was enjoying clearing the map, but now there's just too much. You've probably felt this if you played a more recent Assassin's Creed like Valhalla or Odyssey. You know, I remember feeling this in Origins. I just kind of had to stop doing all the menial tasks because I was like, it's just going to take too long. So I think that's a picture that's sort of analogous to somebody booting up Helldivers 2 and being like, there are 6 war bonds in the game. I've completed 1.5, maybe 2. That means there are 4 that I haven't even remotely touched. It's just way too much. I had to create a second Twitter account as I'm blocked on my main so I don't miss your content and takes. Keep up the good work. Well, I don't know why I blocked you. I tend to block people who attack me. I don't block people haphazardly. Psalm 40. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. Well, good golly, it predates wagons. I should know that that's where it is. That's from my book. That's from my holy book. I didn't know that. That's remarkable. Thank you, Fuzzy. The origin of the muck and the mire is the book of Psalms. Thank you. You know? I mean, I guess they would have traveled, you know, in ways back then where getting stuck in the mud and the mire would have been terrible, you know, like a chariot or something. So you can see the point that I'm making. I don't want them to do less war bonds. I think that's a good thing, but I think it needs to be handled differently, probably when they add the next two. Not the one they're adding tomorrow, it's fine. Just add it, keep things as it is. I'm not asking for major changes. I just think they need to consider you're going to be adding a 5th and a 6th war bond in the next month and in the month after. You know what I'm saying? I think that needs to be considered, right? They had wagons and carts. I was thinking wagons, like maybe I said wagons and didn't say what I meant. Like I didn't verbalize time period. I was thinking wagons like early Western settlement. I wasn't even thinking like, yeah, they would have said that back then. They had chariots and wagons, right? Nomadic persons would have traveled with wheeled vehicles of a sort, and they would have gotten stuck in the muck and the mire. I use that phrase all of the time too. I'm glad to now know its origin, or at least one of its origins. That might not be the origin. Alapark says, the medals start to stack up pretty quickly once you start doing higher difficulty missions. Requiring more medals to unlock items in the war bond pushed me to start doing those higher levels, as I have typically been pretty casual at level 4. Wondering if that's by design or if I'm an outlier. Great feedback, Alapark. Let me kind of engage with that. I think in general, you're always going to have the vast majority of your players more in the middle. And that's the risk, and that's the thing that Arrowhead's going to have to think about. You don't want to lose those people simply because, oh, well, we have to motivate people to go into the harder content. That's where aspirational content has got to factor in at some point. Your motivation to run the higher difficulty content was like, well, I'll get the medals faster and I'll actually start working my way through these war bonds. I think that's fine for now. I think long term, they're going to have to start to think about aspirational content. They're going to have to come up with a more robust philosophy as opposed to just like, oh, raise the difficulty to get more medals to work your way through the war bonds, right? Discord's on mute. No, it's not. I unmuted. Oh, I unmuted and I'm not talking. I'm going to have to reboot Discord. I think a Windows update happened overnight. It did. All these things that are open that I typically don't have open, and that means it rebooted. And whenever it reboots, it doesn't recognize my microphone. I'll quit Discord, and then I'll go back in. It'll fix it. I am sorry about that. I actually hit the unmute button. That's why I was like, I was getting ready to fight you. I was like, I double checked it this morning. I unmuted and I literally saw the icon change. And I was like, and then I clicked live for the live stream. I was ready to fight you, bro. I was like, do not troll me. And there we go, Discord. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Discord. Sorry about that. Windows was not recognizing my microphone. Takashi says, the nice thing about the war bonds is you can choose the ones that you want to unlock, and most having only 3 pages, you can finish unlocking said war bond reasonably fast. I don't disagree with you, Takashi. I'm talking about the older ones. Does that make sense? Like, if you are a returning player or you are a new player, like the first 1 to 3 war bonds, they should just lower the metal prices in them to make it easier to fly through them. So they're not, you get what I'm saying? Like you want to make new player or returning player onboarding a smooth and an enjoyable process. Yo, what's good, Brooklyn? AOZ says, I like your idea. For long-term scalability, they have to increase your metal earn rate and increase the cost of new items versus making old items cheaper. Yeah, maybe. I think it's just easier to legislate by making the old items cheaper because then you don't have to readjust earn rate of every single difficulty, and then you don't have to readjust prices of new war bonds, if that makes sense. Fuzzy says, I agree. After a while, the war bond should be discounted. My only question is, should the price to unlock the bond be discounted as well? Like, instead of the armor on page 2 being 25 medals as opposed to 50, for example. That's what I mean. I think every single thing in the war bond should be cheaper after a certain amount of time. I log in every few days for the free medals. I can't say that out loud, though, because it hurts my Lono is treasonous bit. They could have events where items are half off. That's not a bad idea, Butcher. That's not a bad idea. You have to do your dailies. Again, I'm talking about a new or returning player. I'm thinking about long-term viability of the game. You get people to come back with war bonds. You get new players to try out the game. You don't want them to feel like there's just I'm not even. It's not even FOMO. They're not even going to connect with the game. They're going to be like, oh, I'm so far behind. I'll never get all this stuff. Why are the bots so upset on Helldivers 2 right now? I don't know. It's 2 months in and the player base hasn't slowed down. I think a lot of them were hoping that would happen. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Telswiss says, Lono, I know you're the live service wizard, but I disagree. I think having more guns and war bonds would make players more invested. I'd imagine players would play more if they had 3 premium. You ran out of room. I don't disagree, says Takashi. Gears are basically tools to play the game. From the get-go, I didn't really like having guns, armor, and war bonds. I feel better if it were exclusively cosmetics. Well, I definitely don't know if I don't think I agree with that. I don't think the war bond should be exclusively cosmetic. I like that there's guns in there, but I kind of agree with you at one level, though. It's like there's some really great guns really deep on some of the war bonds. I'm like, dude, I can't play that much. Now, I'm not saying I should be able to play a small amount of time and get all of the great things that you have. I'm just saying after a certain amount of time, I think there's an inherent benefit with making some of the earlier war bonds cheaper so I can say, oh, sweet, I can actually finally get those things fast, kind of buzz through them, and now I'm excited to play. And what do you care? You're focused on the new war bond or the new content or the new enemies or if there's aspirational content. You're so far out ahead of me, you shouldn't even care that I'm doing that. Like, I don't think that would be like a, hey, that's not fair. I had to pay, 50 medals for that gun. Well, yeah, what, 4 months ago, 5 months ago? Returning players and new players get medals from major orders we have done, remember? Fair point, but they cap, do they not? What's the cap on medals? 250? I believe there's a cap on medals, so even that works against itself. You take too long of a break and you're not even going to get all the medals, right? It's going to hit the cap and then a bunch of them are going to get wasted. That's a reason to log in and spend them, right? Don't let yourself go too long. You're going to boot up the game and they're going to owe you 300 and 400 medals and you're only going to get 250. It's going to hit that cap. Now, I don't know if you can have it hit that cap and stop accepting them, spend them, reboot the game, and get more. I don't know if you can even do that. I don't know if anybody's even tried that. Like, has anybody taken that long of a break that they're owed more than 250? Like, what does the game even do? Okay, I was correct. It is 250. I like the idea of discounting war bonds, but I think it would be cool to tie the community in. Use divers who have maxed out our resource, donate medals, for example. I don't know about that. I don't know if people would be really down with that. Like, what would they get from that? You'd have to reward them with something, right? If they're donating their medals, you'd have to give them capes or cosmetics or something. Eugene says, it's easy to tie it to the story. The bonds are needed to fund the war effort and manufacture gear. Months later, the gear should just be available to the troops. Right, like, I think it's it's so easy for them to weave stuff like this into the lore. If you guys are just tuning in, we've been talking about things are going to get a lot worse in the game. We're going to have a lot more enemies. The automatons are going to get stronger according to leaks. The cyborgs are going to change them. The terminids are reproducing faster. It's not that they can just fly. They're actually reproducing faster. I told y'all that's what the termicide was going to do. The Illuminate are apparently, seemingly, getting to the point where they're going to, start to invade as well. Right now, we're having a bit of a debate about whether or not, after a lot of time has passed, and they have, my contention is when they add the 6th war bond, and there's 6 total war bonds in the game, they should consider making the first 2 cheaper, as in the cost per item and all of the metal total costs go way down. So a returning player or a new player can kind of fly through those war bonds a little bit easier. Again, I think that pushes down some of the FOMO that we know they want to fight against. It's great that the war bonds never leave, but when they stack up to that degree, it might be pretty demoralizing for a brand new player or even a returning player who's taken a bit of a break. I myself felt that a little bit last night. Like, I booted up, I got 90 medals, and I couldn't even get some of the items that I wanted because it's just, there's so many, pages for me to work through. And I've got about 77 hours in the game. I've got a pretty decent amount. Yo, Patrick Q gifts a member and gives second member of the day. You guys are going to have to hustle if you want to hit 2,500. The goal of 2,500 members is to force my wife and I to play my favorite game, Ghost of Tsushima, but we have to play it with 2 controllers. So this Friday, you're going to get us to play a rage game because you got 2,300 members last week. So those goals each week are certainly attainable, and then we have those rewarded on a Friday night stream with my wife. If you guys are hanging out and having a good time today, take a second and hit the thumbs up. Hit that like button. It helps this video find more people. Thank you, Patrick Q. And another one comes in from Darth Nylos. An Algarian with 10 months of memberships and Brett Williams with 11 months of memberships says custom weapon skins, colors, victory poses, etc. would be a good idea for a few war bonds. Give people a chance to catch up and the vets can flex the custom looks. Not a bad idea, Brett. They could lean more heavily on cosmetics, but I really do think the vets want those. They want those guns, man. I really do think the continued theme of a war bond is going to be armor and weapons that are all kind of tied together. Like the one tomorrow, the theme of the Helldivers 2 new war bond tomorrow is explosions. So thank you so much, Darth Nihilus, taking us to 3 members on the day. By the way, Algarian and Brett Williams, you guys are at the gifted level of membership. It looks like you're paying for your own membership. If you are paying for your own membership, the $5 tier is now called gifted. It's reserved for when we gift members. You're going to want to upgrade and bump up to the $6. It's called member. That's a full membership. If you want to get into the writer's room where we plan the shows and the Friday night streams with Madam, I feel like I've seen your guys' names around a lot. So if you are currently paying for your own membership, you do want to bump up. We made that change early this year. If the game... hang on one second. I got to take a drink of coffee. I've been talking nonstop since the show started. I remember many folks... hang on. I want to read what Tyler said. If the game doesn't discount items or hasten progress, it will alienate more casual players who don't have time to grind. Metaguns get buried deep in the Warbond pages. I think that's a good way of phrasing it. It really is a good way of phrasing it. It's wonderful that the game has no FOMO. FOMO is F-O-M-O, fear of missing out. So the game has no FOMO. Good to see you, Ravenstorm. You get everything if you have enough time. The war bonds do not expire. They don't. Great. Awesome. However, everything you do in a game, every strength of a game, I believe, has an underbelly of weakness. Like a really, really strong turtle has weak points. I think a really, really strong aspect of Helldivers is that there's no FOMO and the war bonds never go away. I think the underbelly of weakness is that, as Tyler has said, you can really alienate your more casual players, and I think casual players are important to a game like Helldivers because it's super fun to pretty much all types of players. You guys know, you've interacted with these people. You work with them, you ride the bus with them, you're friends with them, you're related to them. There are people who are not even like really super hardcore gamers, and they're playing Helldivers and they're having a good time. And you don't want anybody in that hemisphere of player commitment feeling like, dude, I don't even know. I'm never going to get all this cool stuff, because eventually that starts to work against player incentivization and they might stop playing altogether. And that's not what you want to see. You want to see somebody booting up the game after a break or booting up the game for the first time and feeling that pull. That pull that you felt in those early weeks, you want a new or you want a returning player feeling that pull. I don't have the timer on. My scene's not been switching. There we go. This is one of my favorite shirts from Into the AM. It's an astronaut samurai. I only buy non-weapon things when I'm forced to, says Patrick Hugh. Otherwise, those medals are buying a gun. Yeah, I tend to highlight the guns and the armor as well. Although, I would really like there to be more medium armor that has the... What is it, like a 50% chance to not die from a lethal blow? There's like one medium armor that I can find that has that perk. Like, why is the perk that they reduce recoil? Why is that on like every armor? Like, we need a lot more diversity in the armor, or at least give me transmog. I would love to have that perk. It's my favorite perk. The one where like I have a chance to survive a lethal blow. It keeps me alive a lot. It's like one of my favorite perks, but I have like one piece of medium armor that I can wear with that perk on it. You're forgetting the new boosters too. What do you mean the new boosters? The boosters you can like equip when you go down? Yo, Zinthos with a gifted member. Thank you so much, Zinthos. Good to see you, Zinthos. Giving you your greeting after yesterday, giving me grief. Thank you so much, Zinthos. Getting us to 4 members on the day. The recoil perk is everywhere for real. Yeah, why is that on like every piece of armor? It's not even that great of a perk. Like increased recoil reduction when you crouch or prone. I'm like, I don't know. Who cares about that? This is Helldivers, baby. You know what I mean? I'm just running and gunning. I'm not like making sure to crouch before I get in a gunfight. You can't cater to casuals. That kills live service games. I think that's backwards. I think you can cater to casuals. Why do you think the war bonds don't expire? Who do you think that caters to? One of the central tenets of this game is that the war bonds never expire. Do you think that is catering to hardcore players who probably have played a bunch and already have a bunch of the war bonds completed, or does that appeal to casuals who are like, man, I don't have enough time? I think you've got it exactly backwards. I think you need casuals for a game like this to survive. Because you need those people that are going to log in and play every other day or once a week. They pad the numbers quite a bit. There are a lot of people in the game that are not playing at a hardcore level. We would probably be shocked if they ran the numbers and they said, here's where the player base clusters around. Like, as far as difficulty. I bet you it's 4 and 5. I bet you the meaty, fat center of the player base where most people are hanging out is difficulty 4 and 5. Because most people are casuals. Like, they just play games in a more casual way. The text description is deceiving, says Takashi. It's a great perk, especially because it works when standing. Oh, really? Light armor and stamina booster. Yeah, I like the medium armor. I switched to it and I enjoy it. Again, especially for that perk where I survive. I'm telling you, dude, a bunch of times every mission, I have the least amount of deaths because my armor literally, if I was supposed to die 6 or 7 times, I probably die 3. You know, and that's great. Like, you're literally cutting my deaths in half. Like, you know how many times that happens? You're not paying attention and a charger takes you by surprise, or, you know, you get kind of spammed by a couple of things, and all of a sudden you're like, dude, I should be dead. My body got flung like halfway across the map. Armor kept me in it. You know, that's great. You'd say between 4 and 7. 7 is the GOAT. Yeah, I don't think I've tried 7. We're going to play the game tomorrow to check out the brand's new War Bond. I don't think we're going to play for very long, though. I think we're primarily going to boot up, check out the War Bond, talk with chat, and then go to Writer's Room. That's going to be probably tomorrow's second show. You do want to try and convert casual gamers to core gamers. You can't cannibalize your mechanics for them. Now, I don't disagree with you. I don't. But I don't think I'm advocating for anything that is that extreme. Like, I think that's well stated, that you want to convert casuals into hardcore gamers. There was somebody this was really well said a long time ago in the Destiny community. I believe it was stated by Soldier on Music. I believe that was his username. He said that Destiny 1 turned casuals into hardcore players, and then Destiny 2 turned all of the hardcore players into casuals. Like, they over casualified the game, that it was basically like everybody was engaging casually. It like basically they made it really hard to be a hardcore player. There wasn't enough to do, right? There was no god rolls to chase etc. Those of you that are familiar with Destiny remember that swing, okay? So what you're saying is well stated. You would like for a game like this to be so fun and so good and so approachable that your casual players convert into hardcore players. I think that's well stated. I think a great way of doing that is to consider your onboarding process when you have a brand new player or a returning player. You don't want them to feel like, holy moly, I'm so far behind. You know, I'll just play for a little bit with my buddies and then I'll kind of drift from the game again. You want them to feel that dopamine hit of like, oh, no, you've been away, don't worry. We're going to make it easy for you to kind of catch back up. We're going to do some rubber banding here, like in Mario Kart. You know, we're going to do some rubber banding. We're going to equip you to kind of come back up and get the things that you kind of missed out on. And then they're going to feel like this is great. They're going to feel that thing that you felt in the early days when you were first new to Helldivers 2. You think the Illuminate show up tonight? Ministry of Truth is saying the Illuminate are showing up tonight. Most players have jobs or families. I'm not a teen that can game for 9 hours a day, but I do love games. Matt, I think one of the reasons that live service games especially, they have to consider the more, I call them more mid-lane player. I don't like saying casual because that makes it seem like sometimes people use casual as like a pejorative or an insult. I believe you can be a hardcore person, like in your spirit. You love the game, you follow things on Twitter, you talk about it with your buds, but you're casual in your hours because you have a life. You're just like, I can give the game an hour or two a night, but that's it, right? You're a dad, you're a mom, you're a college student, you've got 2 jobs, right? You've got a full-time job, whatever it is. And so you might be hardcore in your spirit, but also you're casual in what you can give the game. And here's why I think live service games have got to consider that demographic. There's a ton of them. I would argue they're probably the majority of the gaming player base. Do you want to know why? Because all of us that grew up with Nintendo and PC gaming and EverQuest and GoldenEye and Call of Duty, we were there when the old magic was written, okay? Don't talk to me about the old magic, okay? I was there when it was written, okay? We were there at the beginning. And our life now dictates that we can't play like that anymore. You know, you used to stay up until the middle of the night pounding Surge, playing EverQuest or World of Warcraft, and you can't do that anymore. You're in your 30s, I'm in my 40s, and you're like, you know what? I gotta work in the morning, you know? My kids got to get up and go to school in the morning. So I can play for 2 hours. I can give you an hour or two. I can give you an hour or two a night. Your game's fun. You don't want that type of player feeling like this is pointless. Right? This is pointless. The deep magic, do you even C.S. Lewis? I changed it. I changed it to dark magic. The point is that if that's a large portion of your player base, you do not want them to feel like this is hopeless. I'm never going to get all these things. What's the point of even playing? Dude, I timed this so well. Watch this play. This actually worked out so well, dude. I charge it up, and just as he leaves, right in the back, that's picturesque, the way that timed out. That was beautiful. I've stopped playing games like this, like Destiny 2. I love the game, but there's no way for me to keep up with what's happening. The type of currency for the shop, but you need these for that thing. It's just too much. BS, you're in your 40s, not a day over 27. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. I do commonly get told that I don't look like I'm 42. I'll be 43 in November. Yeah. I stay out of the sun. And I laugh a lot. Keeps you young. It's even more true about Helldivers 2. Most folks I see playing are still below level 50, says Takashi. Most of my buddies stopped playing a while ago. There's nothing to earn, really. Right, and I think that... this is the dilemma, Takashi. You're always going to have the hardcore 10% that burn through the game. They wring it out like a rag. They get everything, and they're like, there's nothing left for me to do, and they take a break. Okay? When they come back to the game, nothing I'm saying would help. Not a thing I've said this morning is going to help them. No. Why? I don't think you can help them. That's my honest to goodness opinion on it. I mean it. You cannot help the 10% who are going to wring your game out like a rag. Do you want to know why? If you give them a bigger rag, they're going to just wring it out like they did the smaller rag. That's just what they do. You know? It's like that guy in the cartoon. It's like, I'm going to love him and squeeze him and call him George. That's what they do to every game that they touch. That's what they do with every game they touch. You can't help them. You cannot change them. You cannot change the way their brain works. You cannot change their behavior. You will never satisfy them. And the minute a company tries to satisfy those people, they make a grave mistake. You're going to make your game so dadgum top heavy, the hardcores are still going to wring the game out like a rag, and everybody else is going to feel overwhelmed. You cannot target those players. Accept them as a constant and focus on that fat, meaty, juicy center. The people that are in the mid lane, the more casual. I'm not talking like hyper casuals who play the game once a month. I'm talking like those mid lane players that's going to play the game every other night, once a night, hour or two. Those are the people you want to keep happy, because they're the players that aren't going to squeeze the game like a little rabbit till its head pops. They're not going to. They're going to play the game. And I'm going to be careful with how I say this. They're going to play the game like a healthy individual, probably because they have a more, what's the word? I want to be careful. I'm not trying to be judgmental here. I think they have a more balanced life. I do. Like, I have 2 children. I have a wife. I go to church. I have things I do with my community, things I do with my children, things I do with my wife. Gaming is not all I'm doing. And because of that, I'm going to engage with your game in a way that's, I would argue, maybe healthier, right? I'm trying not to be condescending or judgmental. It can sound that way, but it's like my life is more balanced. So I can put a couple of hours in this bucket, this bucket, this bucket, and this bucket. And so I'm going to play your game like it's one of those buckets. And I think there's a lot more people in that category now. And I think as a live service game, you've got to appeal to those people. Why? They're probably going to give you better feedback. They're probably going to be more prone to spend money in the game. They're probably going to be more likely to come back to the game. They're probably going to be more likely to not be toxic. They're the players that you want. That's the community that you want. You want those players. You do not want to target the 10% that go, give me everything, and then after a couple of weeks they're like, this game sucks, and they throw it over their shoulder. I really do think, well, balanced and imbalanced, I'm not using that as like balanced is superior, imbalanced is inferior. If you're playing a game 9 hours a day and you have no responsibilities, that's imbalanced. You kind of have to see the weight distribution throughout your day is imbalanced. It's like you got everything on this game. And from a psychological aspect, I would say that's probably going to have deteriorating effects on your enjoyment of the game, your enjoyment of games in general. Some of this just gets down to basic brain science and is like, it's a matter of fact. It's not a matter of opinion. That type of entertainment absorption is bad for us, and it actually works against its aims. You actually get less enjoyment out of the thing when you engage with it in that way. Now, I'm not saying like if you have like a one-off, you've got like I've got a Saturday and the family's out of town, and you binge a show or you binge a game, that's not going to hurt you or your experience. It's like a one-off. But like if you're doing that every day, you're blunting yourself. You're making yourself less receptive to the highs and the lows of the game, and you become numb and sort of desensitized, and there's all sorts of studies into this. So like that's why you don't want to make a live service game. It's like, we got to get the 10%. We want to make sure that they're happy. No. They're going to do it no matter what. You aren't going to change those players. They're always going to do that. They're going to do it with every dadgum game that they touch. A 20 spot from KJX. Funny about the Helldivers game, I was about to use a missile launcher on the kaiju bug mother effer at it, and my companion was near the blast zone. I told him, dodge shooting missile. They dodge, but in a different direction. Thank you for the $20 super chat tip. That's very generous. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe. You can talk in my chat. Hey, this is a great channel to become a member to, okay? $6 a month. You get into extra content. You get into behind-the-scenes content. You get into content. I play Helldivers with my wife. My wife played Stellar Blade last week. We got a video about Stellar Blade coming today. And you get into my Discord. Our Discord has a section for Helldivers too. People are teaming up. They're playing together. It's a great day to gift members. It's a great day to become a member. Make sure if you click join and you become a member on your own, pick the $6 member tier. The $5 member tier is for gifting. If you want to gift members, You can bless other people and let them get into that Discord, but you really want to be at the 6 because that's where you get into the extra content and get that extra good stuff. If you can't do a membership, hit subscribe. You can talk in the chat. Hit that like button. Let's set our sights on 300 likes. There's tons of people here. Strong day for Helldivers. Appreciate you guys being here so much. Captain Rufus says, it's true. I had 6 months of work a while ago. I spent heaps of time playing and just became depressed, and I felt bad playing. But now that I'm busy with family etc., I appreciate my time playing more. See, yes, that's it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and get preachy on how you decide to play your games, but I'm telling you, I enjoy gaming now more than I did back when I was playing. There was a time where I would stream for 8 hours straight. I was always in one game, and then the second half of the day, I'd play another game. I like gaming so much more now. Because I have dinner, I go on a walk, I read a book to the kiddos, I put them to bed, I come downstairs, I play for an hour. And it hits me in a different way. And then I shut the game off, my wife and I watch a show. We're working our way through Alfred Hitchcock Presents. We watch the original Twilight Zone. We've decided the most modern television's garbage and the older television's better. And so we're working our way through, thanks to Dan, a community member here who put that on my radar. He was like, Hitchcock had a show. And I was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about it. Like the classic music and the silhouette walking in. I completely forgot about his show. So, but I think the games just hit in a way. Now, that's one of the reasons why I've gotten to the point with Rise of the Ronin where I'm like, I don't know if I can finish this game because it's a 60-hour game. And number one, I didn't know that going in. So I'm at close to 30 hours and I'm only like halfway through. I'm at like 56%. And I'm like, good night. Like, that's insane. With my current ability to play, that means you're easily talking an entire month, of 2 hours a night just to beat one game. Like, that's tough. That's tough to do. That's tough to commit to. You've got to really be enjoying a game to want to do that. Like, my 27 hours I've enjoyed. I don't know if I want to do another 27. I don't know if I've enjoyed it that much. Right? Like, I feel like there's always a tipping point with every game where you're like, yeah, I've had my fill. This was a great game. I'm ready to put it down. Yeah, I want to watch Shogun. Yeah. I do. We'll get to that maybe eventually. Switching gears, what do you think would happen if the community allowed the fight to get to Super Earth? Well, there's a handful of things I think they could do, Matt. I think that's a great question. I do think that with Joel and the team that manages the game, and I kind of talked about this in my opening monologue. If you guys have never been here before, I refer back to the opening monologue because I try to open the show with like 20 minutes of a well-structured, well-written, like, here's my thoughts, because I try to be pretty comprehensive. And I talked about that a little bit. I said, if we're suddenly going to have stronger automatons, stronger terminids, and the Illuminate show up, is that going to be too much? Are we going to get overwhelmed, and are we going to get spread too thin? Right? Is the overrunning of Super Earth inevitable at that point? Like, we're just going to fall behind. Like, it's almost like whenever you're playing, if you've ever been playing like those large-scale shooter games, and you go and you capture A, and then you lose C, and you go and you capture C, and then you lose B, and you go and you capture B, and you're like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? Is that going to start to happen? Are we going to have three factions sort of whack-a-mole? I think that Joel and the team can always tweak things to ensure that the illusion of threat, almost like an accordion, like, oh, they're coming, we beat them. Oh, they're coming in, we beat them. I think they can create and maintain that illusion. They can tweak everything on the back end. They could say, yeah, slow the terminids down. We're going to have everybody focusing on the Illuminate and the bots. They'll slow the terminids down. They're not going to just let the game just run off the rails and be like, oops. You guys were focusing on the automatons and the bugs just, oh yeah, everyone's dead. I think they've got a great plan in play. I'm not too concerned. And to your point, I don't think that we could effectively abandon the game. I bet you would do it if it was Ghost of Tsushima 2. You are correct, sir. You are correct. Some games touch you in a way that's different. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, is not just a game to me. You know, there's more to it. There's more of a connection there. So I had no problem putting, I think my total time in Tsushima is close to 90 hours at this point. I don't know. You have to add up my PlayStation 4 time and my PlayStation 5 time. And I don't know if the app even lets me do that. I think you got to like individually go to, if I go to my games and then I sort them A to Z, I don't know, does it put Ghost of Tsushima in there twice, or is it going to be in there? It might only be in there once now. It's in there once. And when I click on it, it says PS5 Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, it doesn't show me my hours. That's the edition that I want. Yeah, I can't see my hours in the game. If I go to the PS4 version, it's not showing me my hours. It used to do that. It used to, like, if I clicked on a game, it would show me how many hours. Like, when I click on Ragnarok, no, Ragnarok's not showing me my hours either. I don't know if the app is messed up or something. I used to be able to do that. Purchased and played. I used to be able to click on a game and I could see how much time I had put into it, and the app's not showing me that right now. Maybe it has to be installed on the console. Is that how it works? Recently played. If I click on Helldivers, is it going to show me my hours? Yeah, no, Helldivers isn't showing me my hours here. I don't know if the app is messed up or what. I used to be able to go see it. And I can't right now. So I'm not sure what's going on. It does if you go on the console. I used to be able to check it on the PlayStation app. I did it the other day. I went and I clicked on Rise of the Ronin and it showed me how many hours I had, and now it's not showing me. Yeah, it's not currently doing that, Jay, right? I'm not sure. I did. I pressed the controller icon on the app. In any case, the point that I'm making is that a lot of the times when you're playing a game, your experience with the game is going to hit that point of, I'm good, I've gotten enough time out of this, I'm ready to take a break. And the beauty of a game like Helldivers is that you can sort of always come back because it's always evolving, it's never changing, there's always something kind of going on. And I think that's key to Helldivers 2. And that's one of the reasons I'm sitting here thinking, like, man, they've got to think through some of this. Like, I'm curious what you guys think about this. What about aspirational content that doesn't just raise the difficulty? Like, do you think that's even something that they have planned? Or do you think they're always going to be sort of moving the pieces on the chessboard within that spectrum of difficulty? So they're like, here's your, here's your new enemies in the automatons. Here's your new and harder fights with the terminates. Oh, the Illuminator here. Do you think they just keep doing that sort of within that spectrum? Or do they add aspirational content like raids that are very, very mechanically driven? Like, you've got to do this and I've got to do that and we've got to time it together. I think they could, but it's just a matter of, number one, do they want to? And number two, would the community even be receptive to that? Is the game so mindlessly fun that might be too much? Like, would that be a bridge too far? Would that just be like, no, the average players in Helldivers aren't looking for that level of complexity? Helldivers 2 is the polar opposite of Destiny 2, enough said. Well, now, in saying that, Takashi, are you saying that, like, no, raids wouldn't work? That kind of content wouldn't work in here. Risk-reward raids. We win, people survive, lose, they blow up the planet. Oh, they blow up a planet. In the first one, the Galactic War ended and restarted based on the outcome met. So, not sure if they follow that same theme and change it up. A true Helldiver has 250 medals stacked for tomorrow. I'm not a true Helldiver. I don't have them stacked. I'm not ready to go. I got my 90 last night and I spent them right away. I had too much that I had not yet purchased. New TV's bad, clearly not watching 97. I didn't say new, I said modern, Do you honestly think? Do you understand? Do you understand the irony, Fuzzy? Modern television is bad. Well, you're clearly not watching X-Men 97. Is that modern? Isn't it a return to what was so great in the Uncanny X-Men? Isn't it an attempt to not be modern? Takashi says works, but not the way Destiny does it. Oh, no. I certainly don't think we want raids with the way Destiny does it. When I say a raid, picture the Termicide missions, okay? Now I want you to picture something that size where instead of having 3 things to stand near, you have 3 bosses to fight. And when you go to fight that boss, you've got to do mechanical things. Turn the weapon on. Somebody mans the weapon. Someone loads the weapon, right? All while this boss is like shooting at you, and so you've got to be doing things to stun him or draw aggro, things like that. It's only called 97 because it happens in 97. Homie, it 100% is channeling and trying to look like that style of cartoon from that era. Come on, Fuzzy. Don't even start. I have 5,000 super credits stacked. I have 500 medals stacked, but the managed democracy demands I spend only 250 tomorrow. How do you have 500 stacked? Are you being facetious, or is there a trick? So the boss could only be hurt by said weapons? Yeah, you would have to use a weapon in the area to, let's say it's a giant automaton thing, and he has a shield, and you have to hit him with something in that area to disable his shield. That's phase 1. Phase 2, it's time to do damage. And then all of a sudden, oh, his shield's back up. All right? Got to run around to the other side. Like, you're kind of circling him, right? You know, and he's big, and he's circling, and he's doing attacks that you have to kind of keep an eye on. He's like, boom, and he shoots at you. And you're like having to time things with that. Maybe somebody's having to run the shield generator to ensure, you know, that you don't die. And now you got to turn this weapon on, and boom, you take his shield down. Now it's time to do damage. Like, that's what I'm talking about. You work within what the game's already kind of built. Go to this place, put in this code, wait, is essentially 90% of the mechanics in Helldivers 2, and I think you can work within that and create really compelling and fun aspirational content and aspirational instances. I really do. I think you could. I think it could be a blast. Super bosses are definitely coming at some point. I would absolutely love that. I'm not talking about a raid like in Destiny where there's like puzzles and all that. No, you're getting attacked by automatons. You're trying to maintain a spot so you can turn this weapon on, right? You shoot this guy with the weapon. I love the sound effects. Thank you. We used to always do Street Fighter sound effects growing up. We would always do that when we were kids. I mean, I've lost around 250 due to the cap. Oh, I see what you're saying, that you should have about 500, but you only have 250 because of the cap. Okay, I understand. You're being silly. What about add density? The whole standing still while shooting a boss. Hey, listen to me. Sometimes a boss is so big. You know, sometimes a boss is so big, you got to kind of stand still to shoot at him. You know what I mean? You get medals just for logging into the game. Well, if you haven't played in a while, yeah, you boot up and you just get all the major order medals. Now, I thought you had to boot up the game and at least go to the Galactic War table every time there were new major orders. It doesn't seem to be the case. You can just take a break from the game for 2 whole weeks, never turn it on at all, and then you turn on the game, and then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? You've got, 100 some odd medals or something to that effect. I don't see a raid. Fallout Season 1 premieres with a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. I told y'all that I had a good feeling about that show. I was like, that show's got a vibe. It looks good. I really hope Michael Emerson's in more than 2 episodes, though. It looks like he's only going to be in 2. I was like, man, he's perfect for that environment. I don't see a raid, but a super boss mission where the first 2 missions are setting the fight and the last mission unlocks to kill the big battle. Okay, right. So when I say raid, I mean like do a raid the way that Helldivers 2 would do a raid, which you've just kind of described. I think being rewarded for just logging in is brilliant. This makes it very easy to get back into the game without a silly automatic level 50 buff that games add later in the life cycle. Right, what I was advocating for, Russell, is like, let's say when they, let's say, no, it premieres today. They bumped back the premiere to today. Let's say when they add the 6th war bond, you boot up the game and like the first 2 war bonds are significantly cheaper, like as far as how many medals you have to spend. Because they're trying to give you like, okay, hey, you just booted up the game. Here's 150 medals for major orders that you missed. Maybe they get so many medals, they're at the 250 cap like right away. And maybe with those 250, they can just buzz through one of the older war bonds. And now they're kind of like, they feel like, okay, yeah, I've got new stuff to try, new weapons. I've got new armor. I got this and that. Now I can kind of focus on the brand new war bond that just dropped into the game, right? You can't wait for Stellar Blade. I have a Stellar Blade video coming today. So be sure to check it out, guys. We'll be doing an upload about that game, about my thoughts on the demo. We got a lot of good B-roll from the demo. Guys, take a second. YouTube's been kind of squirrely. There's plenty of you here, and I know a lot of you have hit the like button. Make sure it saved your like. Make sure that thumbs up has stuck. We should be setting our sights on 300 likes right now. We should easily have that. Thank you guys so much who have done that. Thank you to the people who have gifted members. We're at 4 members. Every 25, the reason that's down there is every 25 members, I give 5 to the community. And Parasito with 17 months says, bots are rewarding the filthy creakers with their dissidents. Purge the heretics. Thank you so much for 17 months in a VIP, Parasito. That special Terminid mission, and now the new Automaton mission, is halfway raidy already. The Termicide mission really is where I got a lot of my thoughts on this, because it was a larger area. We went to 3 different locations instead of just 1. Like, I really, really liked the Termicide missions. I was like, this is a great glimpse into where they could go with the content. I would love a narrative motion comic at minimal to sum up the year of the events. Yeah, like, that'd be good too. I think that'd be cool. You know, you come back and you're like, the story so far, in case you missed it, that kind of a thing where, you know, you've not been playing and, you know, we're gonna kind of get you all caught up. I think that'd be cool. I think you should be able to exchange gold to metal. Gold? What are you talking about? Are you talking about like your currency that you have in the game? Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim confirms 2024 release date. Is that a show or a game? Oh, an anime. Like a cartoon. I feel like YouTube's having some problems right now, guys. Chat has come to like a dead stop, and our viewership, we just lost a bunch of people. If you're having to refresh, if chat's glitching out on you, I am sorry. I don't have any control over that. My chat did that to me a couple of times the other day where it says like disconnected, reconnected. I'm not sure what's going on. Dude with the drum set with 16 months of membership says, become a member today and join the quest for galactic democracy. I want to buy medals, says Treble Camp. No. I don't think they should start selling medals. I think that's a very, very bad idea. I don't want them to sell medals for real money. Requisition slips for medals is probably what he meant. Parasito says, the way that the game is currently structured, it very much lends itself to raid-like content. They would only have to add a sequence of gating the linear progression paths. Looks pretty good. I'm looking forward to watching it. It's animated movie. Okay, so that's okay. There's a ship in the game called Boss Ship, and it's massive. That would be the first raid boss. So Ministry of Truth is in chat telling us what's going on. I see chat moving just fine. Mine came to a complete dead stop, and then all of a sudden, like a bunch of your messages came out all at once. So I think YouTube's being squirrely. Just hopping in to say that YouTube mobile is all kinds of effed. Yeah, I can always tell when something's acting up. Like, everything was going really, really smoothly. Chat was popping, viewership was popping, and then all of a sudden, it like comes to a dead stop. That's usually... I'm not sure what's causing it. I hope they can figure it out. We've been dealing with this for a couple of weeks. That's why they made them medals, because they can only be earned via service to Super Earth. That's right. There would need to be incentives for aspirational content. Well, what would motivate you to do aspirational content, I guess, would be the question, right? So medals wouldn't do it, I don't think. I think it would have to be... It'd have to be cosmetics. It would have to be like a really cool armor set and cape. You know, maybe, I don't know. I don't know how they would feel about that, putting weapons there. Maybe you could do weapons, but if you make the weapons good, if you make the weapons strong, if you make them even close to being meta, that gets touchy. And a 10 bomb comes in from Parasito, 10 members out of nowhere, takes us to 14 members on the day. We're going to have to think of better incentives than the ones we came up with, man. 2,500 members, and you guys, I have to play Ghost of Tsushima 2 controllers with my wife. We'll see if we can do some of the duels. I think that would be hilarious and really frustrating at the same time. That's the current goal on the docket. This Friday night, we'll be playing a rage game. You guys unlocked that last week. It's not like I'm in a shared world where I can show off trophies. Right. I mean, you can, but only to the people in your team, and only when you're like, you know, loading up your stratagems and coming back and running around. Raid rewards would be capes, armor, weapon skins. I think that'd be enough for a lot of people. Treble says, lazy. I don't have time to play the game for 10 hours a day. Who said anything about being lazy? Did you know that Helldivers takes place in Futurama? We fight the bugs for slurm juice, and we fight the bots for oil. And Captain Zap Brannigan is the Helldiver recruiter in the intro. That's not true. You play the game for fun and for glory and for Super Earth, to squash the enemies of Super Earth and rid ourselves of the alien trash. That's exactly right. I want to log in and pay $10 and get like 1,000 medals. I'm here to tell you that is a terrible idea. That is absolutely awful. No. You simply don't want to do that to this game. One of the reasons that this game has the engagement that it does is because it's an addictive content loop, and you're constantly getting something to it's a perfect feedback loop. The gameplay is really fun, and the stuff that you get from playing, you can then go buy. You can go get stuff from the war bond. Like, if you're not playing at all, like, why do you care about getting stuff then? How come? Am I missing something? That's quite literally everything that people fight against in video games, is paying for gear. You know what I'm saying? That would be like going into a game like Destiny and being like, well, just let me spend money so that I can get raid gear. I mean, that's what that's tantamount to. It's like the main aspect of grind in this game is grinding for medals so that you can then spend them on the war bond. And you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Just let me buy them. You don't remove the free medals from completion? I'm not sure what you mean. You can still earn them for free? No. Everything. That is completely antithetical to what games like this are about. Games like this are not about you being able to come in and be Johnny Credit Card, swipe it, and oh, I got everything. I don't need to play now. I understand where you're coming from, of like, you have less time and you have more money than time, right? Let's just say that's the case. You've got so much money that you're like, I don't want to grind the game for 10 hours a day. I understand the place that you're coming from, but I don't agree with your conclusion. So, like, I can understand your place in life where you're like, look, man, I can only play a couple hours a night. I've got tons of disposable income. Just let me buy these medals so I can try out the new guns and the new armor. Totally get where you're coming from. Your conclusion is wrong, and I believe it would be terrible for the game. A game like this rises and falls on player incentivization and players feeling like their time is adequately rewarded. And when you let somebody swipe a credit card, it cheapens the whole thing. That arguably would be pay to win. Is that, oh, you can just literally buy all the best stuff in the game. You don't have to earn any of it. The game needs to sell something for longevity's sake. You currently don't need to spend any money on super credits. I certainly think that they'll have to think through that, but I'm going to be honest with you, Reaper. Based on everything I've said today about how the majority of the player base is probably fairly casual, wouldn't surprise me at all if most of those players are buying super credits and are buying the premium war bond when it comes out, and because they're not playing enough to have like a stash of super credits. Right? They're more casual. I think the hardcore players probably don't ever have to buy a premium war bond, or, you know, they have enough super credits to buy everything in the store whenever it refreshes. The average player is not in that scenario. Aspirational content, says Parasito. He says gives charges, ammo, etc. for a unique stratagem. So you get to use the stratagem. Oh. I don't know about that, Paris. Maybe. Why not give a choice? I'm actually a little surprised. In general, in gaming, I'm never surprised that there are different viewpoints. I'm surprised when some people defend certain viewpoints, though. This one feels crazy to me, that you're coming at a game like Helldivers, where the content loop rises and falls on getting medals, spending medals, and you're like, I just want to be able to buy the medals. Like, that's probably the most interesting position I've seen somebody take on a game lately, is that you don't want to play the game, basically. You just want to spend the money. And again, I understand. You're like, listen, I'm incredibly busy. I would just like to spend money, and then I can try out the new weapons and armor. That's in your mind, that's fun. I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with feeling or thinking that. I think it would be terrible for the game. I'm seeing it as a catch-up mechanic. Maybe a one-time thing. Okay, my idea, Treble Champ, I think is better than your idea. Let me tell you what my idea was. I think after a certain point in time, the earlier war bonds should be cheaper. So like when they add the 5th war bond or the 6th war bond, I think the first 2, the per medal cost per item should go way down. So when you come back to the game, or you've taken a break and you get all these medals from, you know, major orders that you weren't around for, but you know, you're getting medals for them, you could fly through those early war bonds fairly quickly. You'd get that feel, that pull, new stuff, and then you could focus on the new war bonds, or the ones that are they're newer, right? That's my idea. That keeps the game intact. That doesn't let Johnny credit card buy everything. I don't think you ever want to have a game like this where you can literally just buy the gear. Yo, a single gifted from Darth Nihilus puts us at 15 out of 25. That's a nice layup. Tempting a 10 bomb to get us to 25 members. Thank you so much, Darth Nihilus. We'll see if anybody dunks that one home. The Arrowhead CEO said that they have to earn the right to monetize, and I think that all of the earned extras right now is the setup for that. Paid content will eventually show up. Is that like something that you pay for? No. So right now, there's the free war bond, and then there's the premium war bonds. If you play the game even a modicum amount of time, you get enough super credits to buy the premium war bond. If you don't want to play the game enough to get super credits to buy the premium war bond, you can buy it with real money. Now, once you're in the war bond, you need medals to get the items, and you get the medals from playing. You get the medals every time you do a mission. You get the medals from doing a daily order or your major orders. And you're wanting to buy those medals. And I think that is a significant mistake for a game to do, to let you bypass the actual gameplay loop itself. Now, if you want like a speed up or like a shortcut, like a pay not to play, I think some games do that in a reasonable way. I don't think in Helldivers you could do that. You're literally paying to get you're basically buying gear at that point. You're spending money to buy gear, and I don't think you ever want to let people do that. You never want to let people buy gear in a game centered around earning gear. A 2-spot from Silverback. Time is money, money is time. And a 5-bomb from Joker Quinn. And he puts us on the doorstep at 25. We're sitting at 20. 20 members on the day. We were at like 2,200 members. 2,500 is the goal. We'll be trying to hit 2,300 a day, and then it'll be easy street for the rest of the week. Treble Champ says, I have had it since launch, but when Final Fantasy VII came out and was broken with a lot of kicks in Helldivers, so I was willing to pay 10 to get a bundle of medals to make up for it. Not like hundreds, but 10 a one-time thing. 10 medals would do nothing for you. Oh, no, you're saying pay 10 to get a bundle of medals. I thought you were like, buy 10 medals. I'm like, that's nothing. Yeah, I just don't think so. Here's why you don't need to come back to the game and buy medals. When you come back to the game, you're going to be given a bunch of medals for major orders that were completed while you were away. If you've taken a long enough break, you're going to come back and have 250 medals waiting for you. Because that's the cap. I haven't played the game in like 2 weeks because I've been playing Rise of the Ronin. And every time I boot up the game, every other day, I get medals. Because the community is completing major orders. You don't need the option to buy medals. Just turn the game on, brother. Just turn the game on. You have medals waiting for you right now, I bet. If you haven't been playing. There's not a reason to insert that type of monetization into Helldivers 2. I don't see a compelling reason to do it. I think it would be very, very counterproductive. It would not be good for the game. You want a game like this to have a gameplay loop that is centered around getting things in the game. And if you let people pay money to get around that, that is an awful route to take. I do not think that's a good route. I think that actually creates being able to buy gear instead of earn gear in a game like this. That is acid on player incentivization, both for the players who can swipe the credit card and for those who don't, but get annoyed at the fact that it's even in the game. I wondered, because I can see it coming. It's money on the table. Sony loves cash. I think what you're intimating is unfounded. I think that they have done plenty of player forward thinking models with respect to monetization. If they update a game, you can get the upgrade for $10, like they did with the Director's Cut, or like they did with The Last of Us 2 Remastered. This game has been incredibly player forward, as in like they're going to lean toward the player and give you stuff. That I don't see any evidence at all that Sony has been sort of leaning away from the player with monetization. I don't like saying pro player or pro consumer. I believe those are misnomers. I like the expression of player forward. Like they're leaning toward the player to be like, hey, we're gonna have some goodwill here. We're gonna win some goodwill. We're gonna give you some stuff in the game. We're gonna show you that we are not trying to have scummy micros. We are not trying to squeeze the player. I see no evidence of that from PlayStation. I see no evidence of that in Helldivers. I think what you're saying is, I don't know. I don't see that happening. The company that loves money gave Valhalla and God of War away for free, and they could have easily charged for that. Will medals carry over? I already capped at 250. No. Nope. If you're capped at 250, spend them. If you literally cannot spend them, if every war bond in the game is maxed out for you, sorry, yeah, there's nothing you can do. You're going to boot up the game, and all those major orders completed, you won't get those medals. I believe they just kind of go into the ether. It'll be like, major order completed, and you're going to click through, and you're not going to get any of those medals. That's a bummer. It is a bummer. But if you literally have every single war bond completed, you have to understand you are 1% of a 1%. You're like the smallest percentage of the player pool. That doesn't mean you don't matter. What it means is that the developer cannot afford to legislate the game around your behavior because you're such a tiny, tiny fraction of the player pool. That's just the way the game's going to go for you. 99% of the player pool is not in your situation. They're not sitting on every war bond completed and 250 medals. That just is simply I would call that rare. I was going to call it unusual, but I'm not trying to be negative. I would call that rare. You can pay to unlock war bonds. You just have to grind to earn medals to buy stuff in them. That's right. That's right. You can pay, but you simply must earn the medals. That's good. It's exactly right. If you guys are enjoying the show, I appreciate you being here, man. Really great turnout today for Helldivers. Our Helldivers short also did really well. If you came from the Helldivers short, if you came from anywhere else on YouTube, we greatly appreciate you. A $5 super chat tip from ADJC says, as someone who has been playing since launch, earning medals is pretty easy going. Getting most of the stuff is fairly easy to get. Thank you. And the 5 bomb from Lone Wolf gets us to 25 members. I now owe you guys 5 members, and I'm going to do that right away. And then I'll give you a member count update, let you guys know where we sit with the current goal. You guys hit 2,300 last week, and you're going to get that reward this Friday night. If you want to be here for that, man, my wife and I are going to play a rage game. It's basically going to be Jump King for 2 players. If you've never seen it, it's going to be hilarious. A lot of you may have found me through Suggest. A lot of people have had this video suggested to you on YouTube, like off to the side. Thanks for clicking. Thanks for being here. If you've enjoyed the show, hit subscribe so you can talk. All those things, we greatly appreciate it. The bots are back. Is that my video that we're getting a suggest off of? Also, search results. A lot of you were searching for Helldivers 2, and you found this video today. So thank you so much for clicking and hanging out with us. And the Agent of Chaos is JC, and he takes us beyond 25 to 26. That means the next goal is 50. Every time we push past, we roll it up, and then I'll do another 5 if we hit 50. So thank you so much, JC. You guys can push for that. Appreciate the continued support of the channel. If you guys are familiar with YouTube, you might notice this is not a very large channel. We do not even have 50,000 subscribers, and yet I do this full time. And the reason I'm able to do it full time is because of your support. Memberships are quite literally the reason that we can do this. So if you've never done a membership before on YouTube, $6 a month, supports the channel directly, gets you into Discord, and it gets you into extra content. And the current member count is 2250. That's a great spot to be, with the goal being 2,500. 2250 is really nice. That's a great place to be at this time in the week. We're supposed to be saying no to rage games. Shut up, Paris. Narwaffle with 22 months and a VIP. 22 months and many more to go. I love supporting the hardest working creator on YouTube with the best content. Thank you, Narwaffle. I appreciate that very, very much. If you guys are lurking and listening, a lot of the times you guys forget to press like. Make sure, minimize chat, take a second, hit the thumbs up. Make sure it's saving your thumbs up. I appreciate you guys being here. The high difficulty metal grinders are probably less than 5% of the player base. I probably agree with that. Yeah, I usually just say the top 10%. You know, the top 10%. That's normal, I think. I think every game has their top 10%. You know? Every game has their top 10%. They're a constant in the universe. They'll always be there. Every game is going to have that group of people that just, man, they just can't stop. They just keep playing and playing and playing and playing and playing and play. And then they, you know, a lot of the times they take breaks. Vinsu Karma says, I'm really tired of the multiplayer because people always go on their own way and they get killed and then they disconnect. Well, you're in a great place, because if you can manage to get a gifted membership here, you can hop into our Discord, and we have an awesome community of people here. They're playing Helldivers virtually every day together. Right now, there might be people playing together. Tonight, there will be people playing together. So you could join on your own. If you join, make sure you pick the $6 tier. The $5 tier is reserved for gifteds. But if you can't afford a membership, hang out. Be here every day. Watch all of the live shows. I'm always talking about the gaming industry, gaming news. I'm a safe for work broadcaster. If you've never been here before and you want to talk in chat, or you want to make sure you don't miss my shows, hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell button. Subscribing is totally free. And you hang out enough, you might get a gifted membership. I'm telling you, this is a great place to be if you like Helldivers 2. It's a great community of people. Yeah, playing with Randys can go well, but it can also go equally pretty terribly. It just depends on who you get. Great listen this morning, Lono. Really enjoying the topic. Thank you, Crowquill. I appreciate that. Helldivers isn't that hard. Isn't even hard. Don't be afraid to go in and try them. Oh, Helldive difficulty. You'll get used to it. No ads. I feel like people take that for granted. Yeah, I don't talk about that a whole lot, Zinthos, but yes, if you guys have been enjoying the show, you may have noticed that we've been streaming for an hour and 42 minutes and I don't run ads. One of the reasons that I don't run ads is because I'm supported by you, the members. I don't have to worry about ad revenue. Now, if you're watching the past broadcast, we put an ad, I think, about every 20 minutes. I think that's fair on a 2-hour broadcast, that you get an ad every 20. On an upload, you might get an ad every three or 4 minutes. So this is a longer video. It's longer form content. I think that's fair. But when you're here live, I'm not running ads. That's a VIP for Marcano. Thank you so much, Marcano. Brand new member and chooses the VIP tier. I appreciate that. I don't even really promote the VIP tier, but that gets you into one extra show a week that we do on Friday. It's a little unfiltered. It's a little rough around the edges. It's with me, my friend Mike, and my producer. Right? If you pick the $6 tier, you get into the writer's room. That's every day where we plan the shows. And VIPs, you get into that as well. And you get a little extra as a VIP. Get into the VIP lounge and the Discord as well. So welcome on in, Marcano. Oh, I count that as 2 members, by the way. So that takes the member count to 28. You don't have to gift members to move this number, by the way. You can become a member and it moves the member goal. Thank you so much, Marcano. What's good, Sponge Roth? Good to see you in the chat. Rebel Champ says, it's about enjoying it and feeling like you progress when you sit down for 30 minutes or an hour. Shouldn't be catered to basement dwellers. I don't think Helldivers 2 is catered to basement dwellers at all. Right? If anything, they're the ones that have run out of content the fastest, and they've stopped playing. Parasito comes in with a 5-bomb, and he hits Spongeroth and Thrifty and some others. Thank you so much. I'm not going to say all the names. And that takes us to 33 members on the day. Thank you so much, Parasito. I feel attacked, IO1 says, because I love Helldivers. I always play for half an hour to an hour every evening after work. I'm level 58, and I never spend any money on it. Treble Champ, are you listening to what a more committed player is saying? He's only playing for about an hour a night, and he's doing just fine. He's got plenty. I believe that you are being unnecessarily divisive about it. You know, I don't think that this game caters to, you know, the gremlin player that's like hunched over his TV for 9 hours a day. I really don't think it is. I think it caters. The reason that Helldivers 2 has been as successful as it has and has the player base numbers that it has is because it actually appeals to casual players more than hardcore players. I believe that. I do. Very approachable game. Very fun. Very straightforward. My wife plays it with me. Like, come on. My wife's not some hardcore gamer, and she has fun with it. You should hear her talking smack on the couch when people shoot her or take her guns and stuff. It's fantastic. As a gremlin, the game caters plenty. Well, okay, but what I'm saying is there's things for the gremlin, but there's also things for the working dad who's more casual. I think everybody can enjoy the game. I think the gremlins are going to run out of content a whole lot faster, but, you know, the guys like me, there's stuff for me to do. It's a dad game. It kind of is a dad game. Marcano says, my son got me into the Helldivers 2 game. Little man is always carrying. I like that. I like that. The family that games together stays together. That's wonderful. Yeah, it is kind of a dad game. All these dads are getting home from work and they're like, you know, let's go. Let's kill some bugs. You know? I said it earlier. I said the age demographic of gamers, it's a bunch of us that are now at that stage of life where we're a little busier, we have a little bit more responsibilities, and we can play for an hour or two a night. I think I got burnt by disconnects. I put a lot of time in, 30 hours. I'm level 16, purely as I got disconnected at the end of missions. ETC was very annoying. Oh, well, if you're frustrated by disconnects, dude, you can scream your head off about that. That's a worthy thing of your irritation. What doesn't make sense is to target, you know, the game, or as you call them, you know, the basement dwellers. I don't think that that's the appropriate direction for your irritation. Your irritation is justified. And it should be hurled at the developers. You know, they're updating the game every week and causing problems and causing bugs and causing crashes. That's the nature of a game like this. It's unfortunate, but it's true. You know, it's unfortunate, but it is true. Every weekend, me and my son and my nephew play all night. I love that. I love that. I love that it's a dad game. Yes. Yes. Listen, when New World came out, I kind of started theorizing. And I said, I think more MMOs and live service games, I said they're going to have to start catering to the mid lane player. They're going to have to start catering to the players who were like, I loved playing World of Warcraft and EverQuest for 16 hours a day. I can't do that anymore. And the reason I said that back then is I said, I think there's tons of people like me, okay? The weirdos who trophy check me and call me a fraud, they're the minority. And I think they know it. I think they sense that they're fringe and they hate it. Like, it's hard for people to fathom, why would somebody be successful on YouTube as sort of a dad gamer? I'll tell you why. The vast majority of the people in my age bracket, they actually make up the largest portion of the gaming community, 28 and up, okay? Y'all are in my age bracket, and that's how we play. It's why people that used to watch my Destiny content liked it, because I took up for the casual, the more mid-lane player, the dads, the moms, the busy working people of the world that are like, I love to play a video game, but good night, I don't have time like I used to. I think that's the vast majority of the player pool. So when New World came out and I said, MMOs are going to have to target the mid lane, Helldivers 2, in just clear and grand fashion, has targeted that more mid lane, more casual player. It's just such an approachable game. It's just so fun. And you don't feel like you have to play every day. And you don't feel like you have to grind like crazy. And there isn't any FOMO. This is why I also have taken the position that by the time the 6th war bond shows up into the game, you're going to have to streamline the older war bonds. If not, all those dads are going to be like, dude, there's so much, I'm never going to get any of this. And it'll be demoralizing. It'll be disincentivizing. Dads of Destiny was a thing right out of the gate, was a great community. Dad of a 1-year-old, time is gone. You see, Draven? You see? This is why. This is why people enjoy and can relate more to somebody like myself when I talk about my gaming habits. If I sat here and I talked to you guys about how I'm up till 5 in the morning and I'm gremlining, the games out and I'm just grinding like crazy, you wouldn't be able to relate to that. You'd be like, number one, you look like you're dead because you don't get any sleep. You look like a zombie. And number two, you'd be like, I can't relate to that. Who can do that these days? If I stay up past midnight, I don't feel right. You know what I mean? If I stay up too far past midnight, I'm like, oh, dude, I'm going to feel like crap in the morning. You're still in a Dads of Destiny clan? That's amazing. We need to continue letting content be exhaustible for the gremlins in order to give the middling players a comfortable lane. That, Logan, that is just so well stated. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Streamline the war bonds. It's not enough to even get through a week after they drop before the next one is done. No, Loco. What I'm talking about doing is when they add the 6th war bond, there's going to be 6 of them in the game, okay? I think war bonds 1 and 2, all of their metal prices, per item should go way down. Way down. You enable a brand new player or a returning player to go through and just buzz through. So they feel like they're kind of being given just a little bit of a rubber band catch up. Like, okay, I'm kind of getting a little bit of a bump here to catch up to the rest of the player pool. Hardcore players, they're not going to give a rip about that. They're going to rip through that brand new war bond in a week. They are not the ones that you have to be concerned with. They're a constant. You cannot change their behavior. You cannot change the way their brain works. That's who they are. That's how they game. They're on this vibratory lane with gaming that just like there's nothing you can do. It's like the Flash vibrating through a wall. They're just gonna, I'm done. I have everything. Oh, I've got 250 medals. Like, tell me right now how many of them already have 250 medals saved. They're ready. They're ready. Just ding, 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 ding. Okay, I spent my 250. They're gonna grind for 3 days straight, and they're gonna buy a huge portion of the war. They're gonna just keep going. Like, you can't change the way that they play. Drop the prices each release. I kind of like that. Yeah, I kind of like that. I would love it if tomorrow when they drop the brand new War Bond, that the first 2 just drop in price. The standard and the orange one. I would love that. Uber Earth isn't socialist, but they are accelerationist, so dropping the prices would lend to that idea. No Lono, way less than a week. Exactly, Takashi. They're probably like what? Like 48 hours, 72 hours? War Bond's done. Especially when they're sitting on 250. 250 medals will take you to page 3. To page 3, 1 item. Phew. Who's doing that? Treble, is this your first time in a live service game? I'm not trying to be mean. That's a genuine question. Is this your first time engaging with a live service game? Because let me tell you something. None of this is new. This is what people do. There were people that did this in Destiny. They would sit on bounties. They would sit on engrams. They would stack stacks on top of their stacks so that when day 1 hit of a season or a DLC, they'd be like, bing, 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 level, bing, 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 level, bing. It's like, what in the world? Like, they're not, it's like, those people, they actually, this is going to sound really, really weird. They actually, I don't mean this in a judgmental way. They enjoy optimizing the game more than the game itself. Do you see? The game is now a subtext. It is. The game becomes a subtext. They're like, they enjoy optimizing the game more than the game itself. Now, I don't think that's happened quite yet with Helldivers 2, but it certainly happened with Destiny. There were people in the late stages of that game's life cycle, and even now, they take more enjoyment out of optimization than the actual game. Like, that's where their pride and enjoyment comes from. Oh, I'm ready. I got all my bounties. I got all of this. I got all of that. I got this ready, that ready, and this other thing ready. And then they're going to that day 1, they're on Reddit, they're on YouTube, they're on Twitter, they're optimizing, they're making sure every second, every engram, every level, every upgrade, boom, 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 boom. That's where they get their enjoyment. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's always going to be something that you find in live service games. Always. PlayStation Plus for April, Dave the Diver, Tales of Kinsera, The Crew 2, Construction Simulator. That's strong. Dave the Diver and Tales of Kinsera especially. I'm really excited about Tales of Kinsera. Parasito says, bonus medals or discounts on old war bonds on weekends or during happy hour. Yeah, that'd be fine too. Let me give you guys a sample of what it is to be a member here. I'm going to switch the chat to members only. This is a great time to become a member. This is a great time to gift members. We like to use the final 30 minutes of the show. Sometimes I forget to do this, but we like to use the final 30 minutes of the show as a members-only gaming Ask Me Anything. As long as it's about gaming, you can ask me about it, and I will try to give you an answer. We covered the Star Wars Outlaws things yesterday. We're covering Helldivers. You guys want to keep it about Helldivers, you can totally keep it about Helldivers. You don't have to switch gears. This is just giving you the opportunity to, as a member, as somebody who watches the show every day, maybe ask something that's pressing that you're like, oh, he's probably not going to do a show on this, but you want my thoughts on it. And again, now is a great time when you gift those members, you give those people an opportunity to be a part of just a little sampling of members-only content. And then maybe they'll consider upgrading because they like it. Because we do behind the scenes, we call it the writer's room. You get to see how the sausage is made. You get to see how we come up with our shows and our thumbnails and my monologues. Eugene says, the first time I was exposed to that mentality was when you ran Wrath of the Machine with Jake and he spent 2 hours opening engrams. I ran Wrath of the Machine with Grenader Jake? I don't remember that. Oh, no, I do remember that. I do. I remember him, because he was like, hang on, I need a little bit more time. Yeah, I think I vaguely remember him. We were waiting on him, and he would, because he didn't run it with me day one. Did he? I didn't think he ran it with me day one. How excited are you for the Fallout TV show? I was really excited for it the first trailer I saw. I thought the vibe was right. I was excited to see Michael Emerson in it. Michael Emerson is the one who played Benjamin Linus in Lost. He also played Harold Finch in Person of Interest. Person of Interest is where I first got introduced to Winston Duke, and I think he's fabulous. I really was hoping that they were going to give the Black Panther mantle to M'Baku. I thought he brought a lot of great presence to that movie and that character. I love Winston Duke. He was fabulous. Oh, he was fabulous in his episode, his introductory episode in Person of Interest. But I love Michael Emerson, especially from Lost. So I thought the vibe of the Fallout TV show looked fantastic, and then I saw Michael Emerson. I'm like, oh, let's go. Sadly, it seems like he's only going to be in 2 episodes, but it's getting like a 95% right now from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. So sounds like they nailed it. Hey, Lono, how do you feel about Arrowhead's ability to balance weapons in Helldivers 2 so far? Do you feel like it needs work? No. I think balance in Helldivers 2 is an illusion. There is no balance. That's the balance, right? I feel very new age right now, you know? I should be sitting with my legs crossed and be sitting like this, you know? The balance of Helldivers 2 is that there is no balance. Like, that's the balance of the game. There is no balance. There's always going to be something that's super strong. There's always going to be something that you feel like needs to be buffed, and then they'll do that. And then they'll do it again, and 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 again. Like, there's never going to be a moment where the game is balanced. That's the balance. That's the balance. It's, you always have some new strong thing to try. You always have something that's not as strong as it used to be, and you put it down. Like, that's why a game like this maintains your interest. If for 6 months we were running personal shield, railgun, breaker, shotgun, you would have stopped playing faster. You would have gotten bored faster. The fact that they changed that meta up, do you remember how angry everybody was? Is anybody still angry about that? Did that angry, outlook, did it persist? No. Why? People switched to other things. That's what they did. Like, I've said this many, many times. 2 of the greatest emotions to see in a player base, excitement, like hype, excitement, and anger. At some level, I think anger can be a better indication, because anger comes from a more settled conviction of interest and investment. Excitement and hype, that can wither really fast. That's great, but that excitement is not always an indicator of investment. Anger? When somebody is angry, they're invested. And that means you've got them. They're in. They will not quit easily. The ones running to Twitter and Reddit, they're not going to quit your game easily. They just typed a manifesto about how you broke their favorite build. They're not going anywhere. They're not. Now, you don't want people to stay angry, But anger is never a cause for concern when you make a change or you nerf something. Now, it can be like, oh, maybe we misfired, maybe we overcorrected. You want to listen to the anger, but you never want to be upset by it or worried about it. The most concerning emotion about a video game is apathy, as Sven has put it in chat. The minute your player base becomes apathetic, you are in grave danger. I mean, grave danger. Because to fix apathy, oh my gosh, that is the true puzzle, isn't it? How do you fix apathy? I mean, that is really challenging. Once people reach that point with the game, it's doubly hard to get them to come back. It's extremely hard. Because if they come back, the slightest thing will turn them off. Because they're like, I've been here before, man. This is annoying. It was annoying 7 months ago, and it's annoying now. And then they'll quit. Like, is anybody from 30,000 feet, zooming way out from afar, because I'm in another universe now, is anybody surprised that the morale around Destiny 2 was terrible, doomsday, sky is falling, everybody's angry, everybody's sad, and in walks a single trailer. And all is well. I think that community is the happiest after a trailer. It's not when the content drops. It's not when a season starts. It's not when the raid loot starts dropping on you. The happiest state of the Destiny 2 community is always right after a trailer. That's its peak. If you could bottle that and drink it, you'd have lightning coming out of your fingertips. And it always comes down from there. It always comes down from there. Listen to me now, if there's a company to study, if there's a marketing psychological impact study to do, it's study how Bungie can take a community of people to Mount Everest every time they drop a trailer. It's remarkable. I wasn't surprised at all. I checked Twitter yesterday and I was like, yep, they did it again. Everyone's like, it's fixed, it's wonderful. And then, 2 weeks into the content, we all know what the thumbnails will say. We all know what the Reddit posts will say. Maybe it'll take a little bit longer this time because they are entering their golden age, right? They're entering their age of triumph. They're entering what they did with D1. So, in regards to that, with can you balance Helldivers 2? No. And you don't want them to. You don't. Because you don't want people to become bored or apathetic. You don't want your game to become predictable. Do you want to know why the Destiny trailer yesterday was so potent, was so powerful? Because they're not letting the game sit in like a boredom stagnated state. They're blowing the lid off. Combine this, do that, flip this around. Here's this, here's that. It's just going to be chaos. So it's the antithesis to stagnation. That's why everybody got so excited. Now, somebody asked in the Discord last night, well, why didn't they do this a long time ago? And I said, for a very simple reason. It's not sustainable. It isn't sustainable. That's like at the end of a fireworks show saying, well, why wasn't the entire show like the finale? That's not sustainable. You can't do that. It's not possible. Because you can only go up from where they're going. You're going to be so insanely powerful. You're going to have crazy builds, crazy guns. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be awesome. Well, where do you go from there? Nowhere. They're taking it to the peak. They're taking it to the apex of power, and that's not sustainable. That's proof. That's all the proof you need that game is getting ready to coast. Now we're hearing rumors that they're getting ready to build the next game. Okay, hopefully funding is there. Hopefully layoffs don't have to happen, and they can, because I've always thought they needed. I think they need a new engine, but In any case, you simply can't always have that, and that's why Helldivers 2 will never be balanced. It can't. John Helldiver returned to civilian life. Why does it say that? Is that something made up, or does that actually happen? Like, does that happen when somebody quit? I swear, Lono, you're hitting the biggest nail with the biggest hammer. They're always the happiest after a trailer. That hit me like a truck. I could do a documentary on that game and that game's community. I really could. I'm telling you, now that I'm so disconnected from it, you know, I can like look at it from afar. I'm like, oh man, here we go again. You know, here we go again. Maybe not a big issue for you, speak for yourself, and also not true. It definitely doesn't work in unsafe mode. They nerfed unsafe mode as well. Oh, you're talking Railgun. You're still talking Railgun. That claim was debunked ages ago. Well, I thought the Railgun still felt good in unsafe mode, Takashi. I don't necessarily think it was still as powerful as it always had been. But I thought that it felt good. I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, this is trash. This is ruined. Oh, this is terrible. It was like, okay, it still feels pretty good in unsafe mode. It might still need some tweaking. You know, I don't know. A Helldiver returning to civilian life means they were executed. Why does it put that in the chat sometimes? So is it fair to say that a good live service game should always break the monotony and potentially anger the player base in order to keep the sandbox fresh? If so, how would Helldivers 2 avoid power creep? They avoid power creep by doing exactly what they've been doing. Nerfing your favorite build and buffing something else. Oh, this is really high? This isn't? Whoop! Can you look intoxicated? The comment I've sent. All right, hang on, Colin. I don't know why. I don't know why it says intoxicated. Hang on. Let me click on your name and go to your chat log. Good to see you, Colin. Colin says, you tend to say we should respect the authorial intent. I'm saying this because of the 30 FPS drama. I really think the creators of Dragon's Dogma thought the best experience players would have is to explore the open world and the great small big details. However, that unfortunately came at the cost of 60 FPS. I think we should be okay with that. I disagree with you very strongly, and I'll tell you why. That is not why the game runs at 30 FPS. The game does not run at 30 FPS because of authorial intention. Or authorial intent. It runs at 30 FPS because it's a poorly optimized game. Even on PCs, it struggles to get good performance because it is CPU bottlenecked. That is not authorial intent. That is authorial negligence. Right? Let's say I'm reading a book, and I get to the end of the book, and I say, wait a minute, there were major plot threads and characters that the author, I guess, forgot about and didn't bring up again. They didn't, what? And the book's over. There's no sequel. You couldn't defend that and say, well, that was the author's intent. No, I would say that's negligence. They just forgot to do it. They didn't finish the book well. Right? Like, literary criticism can come in and criticize a book and say that character arcs and development were left unfinished or rushed or poorly paced, or we just never heard about that ever again, and the book seemed to indicate, you know, all literary clues that we were going to get some kind of a culmination, some kind of a climax, some kind of a conclusion with, you know, David and Greg, and we never got it. Like, you would say, oh, that was the author's intent. And it's like, no, that was negligence. They did a bad job. They did a bad job with Dragon's Dogma 2. It's not authorial intent, even on PCs. Yes, Khalid, yes. At some level, I might be educating you right now. I don't know. That game doesn't run well on PC. It has a terrible score on PC. And the microtransactions got blown out of proportion. That drove the score down, but the score would still be bad on PC because it runs terribly. And I tried to tell people. When I went to the minimum and recommended requirements, and it was like, if you have this rig, you're going to get 2160 30. I was like, red flag. Who the frick puts that in their minimum and recommended requirements? 2160 30? What? Like, if you have a mid-lane rig, that's what you're going to get? So that game is not doing well even with the PC audience, and for good reason. And it's going to get nominated for awards, and I'm going to roll my eyes. It's a 9 out of 10 game, 10 out of 10 game of the year game. It's poorly optimized. Mince Tree with 31 months in a VIP. Do you think some kind of health bar for the enemies would help? Pumping round after rounds, not knowing how much damage you're doing is frustrating. No, I think that's part of the appeal of the game, is that you have visual indicators, you know, knocking their armor off, knocking their arms off. 20 minutes ago, they tweeted. Do you guys want to see this tweet? I'll show it to you. Super Earth High Command would like to remind you that the Democratic Detonation War Bond deploys tomorrow. This explosive firepower will blow up bugs, bots, and potentially your own squad. All in the name of liberty. I'll pull it up. You guys have already probably seen this from the PlayStation blog. But let me open the image in a new tab here for you. And then we'll, oops, I don't need that. And then we'll zoom out. Oh, we can leave this zoomed in just for a second. So there's a nice zoom in of your armor sets. And then let's go like this. So you will be getting those 3 armor sets. And then we got 3 primary weapons. Here, Adjudicator, Exploding Crossbow, Eruptor, and then utilities, the Grenade Pistol, Expert Extraction, Pilot Booster, Thermite. Got some player banners here. Got some good looking capes here. Ooh, I like this one with the skull like in the pattern, the Harbinger of True Equity. And then you get Courtly Bow, Boxer, and Squat victory poses. Looking good. Looking good. Okay. Give me 1 second here. I have a video that's going to be going live about Stellar Blade. Contrary to all of the lies on YouTube about me, I'm actually really excited about that game. People fell for a 1-minute clip out of context, and, you know, that's how people make videos these days. And let's see here. My video is going to go live in about 7 minutes. In 7 minutes, it will be going live, and so you guys have a little bit more time if you want to try to hit 50 members on the day to get us a little bit closer to that big goal that we're trying to hit by the end of the week. And then I need to set up a writer's room as well. Looks tasty, especially the grenade pistola. I like the idea of a grenade pistol. I think that's cool. I think they're definitely getting to a place where they can get even more creative with the stuff that they give us. You know, I really would like contextual power, like a stratagem or a weapon, or, you know, things that are specifically designed for new enemies like the Illuminate and things like that. I think that's really cool when it's like, hey, this brand new weapon is specifically designed for this enemy type, you know, or this encounter. I love that. I think that's cool. Today is the 10th, so tomorrow at noon, and we'll schedule that. Heavy armor reminds me of a race from Voyager. All right, so in 6 minutes, we'll be going over to this premiere. It will redirect you when it's done. It'll redirect you to the writer's room if you are at the $6 member tier or higher. And then this video that you're in right now will also redirect you to the new premiere. It's Stellar Blade will be good, is what I argue in the video. And that's based off of the fact that I played a good bit of the demo, 3 hours of the demo. And then my wife also played. And I really, really think the game's going to be good. And I'm excited about it. It's far better than I expected. I was not expecting to like the game as much as I did. That convo is never going to die. Is it just going to infect other games? Yeah, like the people that are misdiagnosing, I will readily admit there is certainly some, I think, unflattering shots in the trailer yesterday for Star Wars Outlaws, but I believe that people are misdiagnosing that. It doesn't to me look like a game that they've like the claim now that like, oh, they're making her ugly. I do not see evidence of that like at all in the Star Wars game. Like all the promotional materials, the first trailer, I think Kay Vess looks pretty. People are like, she doesn't look exactly like this headshot. The headshot where it's perfect lighting, perfect makeup, probably been airbrushed and touched up in Photoshop. And you think that the character in the video game should look like that, who is a smuggler, and, you know, kind of on the rough edges of society. That makes perfectly good sense. Sure. Like, let's take somebody good looking like, I don't know, Brad Pitt. And if you put Brad Pitt in a movie where he was like, you know, a drug addict or selling drugs or a gangster, would you have him looking as good as he did in Meet Joe Black or Ocean's 11? No, of course not. You'd probably make him look more ruddy, maybe lose some weight. Like Christian Bale in Batman as Bruce Wayne, it doesn't look the same as Christian Bale in The Machinist, where he's super skinny and gaunt and sickly looking. So I don't understand this idea that, you know, Kay Vess doesn't look like the model from a headshot. I do not understand the mindset that some people have about video games. I don't. I will readily admit that she does look awkward and a little funny in some of the shots in the trailer, but all of the humans in the trailer, there's some funny shots. Like the one guy's eyes look kind of funny when he's moving. The one girl, the one bounty hunter, her hair texture looks really off. Her skin texture looks really off. I don't think that engine is particularly good at like emulating a person, like their face, their facial movements, and their hair. All of the human characters in the Star Wars Outlaws trailer, I think they all look kind of funny. It just that they don't look quite right. And everybody's fixated on Kay Vess. And so I posted screenshots of the other characters. I was like, they all look kind of awkward. They all look a little you know, even the guys, like they look, their facial animations, their smiles, their teeth, it all doesn't look great. So I don't think it's more evidence of like, they're making the characters ugly. She doesn't look exactly like the model. Okay, Stellar Blade doesn't look exactly like the model either. They've significantly changed her face. She looks far more like an exaggerated anime character with like really big eyes and very small facial features. And the real woman doesn't look like that at all. Like, and no one's complaining about that. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, back from Scotland. Hey, Hilly. Good to see you back, man. 38 months in a VIP. You're the best. You are the best. The trailer editor used the Funhouse Mirror preset. Yeah, but they all... that's what I'm trying to say. They all look funny in the trailer. All of the humans look kind of funny in the trailer. I posted shots on Twitter. There's the two guys, the main bad guy and the guy that's talking to Kay. And then there is the bounty hunter that is after Kay. And it's like, I feel like they all look a little busted. Like they don't look good. I think it's the engine. If you look at all the promotional materials, if you look at all the other trailers, she looks great. She doesn't look ugly. Like I I think people are jumping the gun. I think they are. Instead of assessing the trailer for what it was, which is there's some awkwardness from the engine itself. Instead of doing that, we're like, yep, they made another Uggo. And it's like, here we go. I can't wait to have this discussion 10 more times. So, speaking of which, let's head over to my Stellar Blade Will Be Good video. Guys, make sure when you get over there, smash the heck out of the like button. Thanks so much for a great turnout today. Click that link in chat. We are going to head over to this video, and then we're going to go to the writer's room after. So I'm curious what you guys think of this video. We put some good work into it. I'm going to redirect you. Click the link in chat. If that doesn't work, then go to the main YouTube page. I'll see you guys over there, all right? And you can also just ride the redirect. It'll take you over, and hit that thumbs up button when you get over there.